The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game is missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, guys, once again, we are back. What is it? I think like the sixth day in a row, 6 days in a row. So definitely getting some consistency going. My apologies for showing up late to the live. It's been a crazy day, lot of running around, lot of stuff going on in boxing with me today. You know, did like 2 interviews, got a couple videos done. I'm reading boxing contracts. Some people are telling me that certain fights is getting done. So, there's a lot going on today. But nonetheless, I'm glad, I'm here to talk to you guys. There's a lot going on, a lot for me in boxing today, but boxing in general today is pretty slow. So there's not a whole lot going on. I got about 4 or 5 talking points, but they're not like crazy stories or anything like that. But listen, we're here giving you guys that world-class boxing content, even during a month where it's really, really slow in the sport. So listen, if you're watching the live right now, make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're watching the playback, make sure you smash that like button. It is everybody's favorite late night boxing program, True School After Dark. HBO Boxing After Dark, they're not here no more. Showbox, they're not here no more. So bam, boom. Here comes True School After Dark, the new late night series in boxing. Yes, sir. So anyway, let me take some time to acknowledge the fine folks that are already here commenting, making their presence felt. We have a lot to discuss as far as Daniel Dubois firing Don Charles. Top Rank, they got a new, supposedly, according to Rick Laser, they got a TV deal that they're about to finalize, amongst a couple other things. So yeah, we'll definitely go ahead and get into all that. But let me take some time to acknowledge the fine folks of True School Sports that are here commenting. Shout out to my main man, Stop Motion MMA. He says, I'm here for the news about Top Rank, still the True School. Shout out to you, champ. What up, BT? What up, Black Mall? Shout out to you. Hand History Vault in the building. Good to see Hand History Vault. Pedro. Man, Pedro's in the building. Good to see you, Pedro. My man, Joel. Good to see you, Joel. He ain't late tonight. See, yesterday you was late, and then today I was late. You see how that works? Like, how do you show up late for your own live? That's me. So listen, really busy day today. Earlier today, I haven't posted it yet, but I did interview earlier today. I interviewed Elijah Pierce for like an hour, so you guys will start seeing that come out. I gotta break it up. It's like an hour. That, and then I interviewed Trayshawn Wiggins, and then tomorrow I got 3 interviews tomorrow. So shit, a lot of interviews coming out here on True School Sports. But a couple more comments, and then we'll jump right into it. So is Rick on tonight? Nah, Rick is not on tonight. I'm gonna get to him soon though. I got to message Rick soon. Tomorrow there's not gonna be any live. Because tomorrow I got an interview at the time where I normally go live. So tomorrow there won't be an interview, but I'll be live again on Wednesday. But anyway, let's get into it, man. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to discuss. Make sure you guys run it up and smash that like button. I know a lot of you guys are here for the Top Rank news, so I'll go to that first before I talk about Dubois or anything else in boxing. We'll get to the most important thing first, because really and truthfully, I think out of all the topics that we're talking about today, this is the most important topic. So we'll go here, man. So it was reported earlier today by one of the most polarizing men in boxing, and I gotta go reach out to him and get him on the channel. Maybe he can come here and break this down for us on Wednesday when I go live on Wednesday again. But Rick Laser, he stated that the following, that I quote, Top Rank is finalizing a deal with a cable channel that has never done boxing previously to do 1 show a month, but the deal will not be exclusive for Top Rank. So Top Rank will be able to do business with other platforms, and Top Rank will retain the foreign rights to the shows. Out of what little respect I may have for Top Rank, I will not disclose the network. End quote from Rick Laser. So what do we make of that? Well, this actually goes into what I was telling you guys with the whole Xander Virgil thing. Is like, look, guys, you got Oscar and Virgil trying to use the network thing against Xander Zayas. And guys, this is Top Rank. This is Top Rank boxing we're talking about here. This is the most historical, most well-established, most well-ran promotional company in the sport of boxing, and they've been through a lot of eras. They've seen a lot of different things. So they're gonna find their footing, right? They're gonna find their footing, and it looks like, according to Rick Laser, that they have in fact found their footing, even if it's not anything too crazy. far as them doing one show a month, I mean, look, if they can't get more dates, I'm sure they could outsource some of their fighters to, PBC or Riyadh or Turkey or, Matchroom. There's ways to go about this, but either way, it's good that Top Rank is going to have dates ready for some of their fighters. Hopefully, their champions, the top guys on Top Rank, like your guys like Xander, Brian Norman Jr., your Angelo Leos, your Espinozas, your Shushu Carrington. Hopefully, if they do get one show a month, hopefully that these are the kind of guys that you get on the network for that one show a month. Your Abdullah Masons, those kind of guys, especially if Abdullah Mason goes ahead and wins a world title. So I'm intrigued to see who the network's going to be. We know that it won't be ABC. We know that it won't be ESPN. We know that it won't be like everybody that's ever had a stake in the boxing business. We could fully expect and fully anticipate that, we're not going to get a repeat business. It should be a new network. So who knows? Maybe TNT, maybe I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they don't ran through all the sports channels. Maybe they go to MTV. Could y'all imagine that? Top Rank on MTV, Top Rank on Lifetime Network. They're gonna put on they're gonna put Top Rank boxing on right after Real Mob Wives of New Jersey and shit like that. Like, could y'all imagine that? That'd be crazy. But yeah. So, what do you guys make of it? Top Rank seems to be finding their footing, and it's not really a shock to me because, really and truthfully, like, this is Top Rank. They've been through different eras. They have a very, very competent staff. Bruce Trampler, Brad Goodman. That Bob Arum isn't as involved from what I know. Talking to the Top Rank staff, I know Bob Arum isn't as involved with the day-to-day operations. That is more like Todd DeBuff these days. But that's what I'm saying. When Oscar De La Hoya would come out here and say things like, oh, Xander doesn't have a network. Well, he's about to have a network. So if Xander has a network and he's a champion, does that mean you're gonna finally go ahead and come to Puerto Rico? Like, are you gonna be about that smoke or not? We'll see. As far as them retaining foreign rights to the shows, not really sure what that means. That's kind of it says right. It says, and Top Rank will retain foreign rights to the show. So does that mean that? What is that? See, this is why I need to get Rick on here to explain that, because that could be a million different things. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of this news that Top Rank is supposedly finalizing a new TV deal? Top Rank on the Weather Channel. Yeah, man. We might get Top Rank on the Weather Channel. You might get Top Rank on Oxygen. Top Rank on the Gaming Channel with Feed Generations. You know what? Let's take a poll, guys. All right, let's take a poll from the chat. I want you guys in the chat to let me know, excluding all the networks that we've seen work in boxing, because Rick's saying that it's a network that's not involved in boxing. What channel do you want to see Top Rank boxing on? Do you want to see Top Rank on CNN? How about Top Rank on Fox News? Top Rank on Comedy Central? Pedro says, word on the street that it's HBO Max. Possibly. I mean, possibly. Look, they said that it's a network that hasn't been involved in boxing. So, I mean, technically, HBO Max isn't HBO, but it's a subsidiary of HBO. So maybe that doesn't count. I don't know. I Am Black Mall says, bro, that live you did with your pops was dope as fuck. Yeah, my dad. I asked him to be part of this live, but he's a little tired today, so I said, okay. I'll let you be Pops. When Pops comes on live, that's when you know it's big time. This ain't really a big time live. Like, this is a regular day in boxing. Ain't really a whole lot of shit going on in the news. There's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes, because there's some things happening with me today that I'm really excited about. For fighters that I'm connected with, and you guys can put together those dots. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. But as far as boxing news, it's pretty damn slow. And the only fights we really got going on this week is like John Paul Rivera, Daniel Bailey, which I'm really excited about because Daniel Bailey's a friend of the channel. But other than that, it's pretty slow. Because Shushu said that on a podcast, it's not confirmed, but it's kind of a rumor. We'll have to wait. We'll have to go ahead and see. Hopefully, I would hope that Top Rank announces a network at least by November. I'm hoping by like November they go ahead and announce a network because they got fighters, like they got fighters that they gotta keep busy. They got champions that they gotta keep busy. And yeah, so hopefully they go ahead and they do that for the sake of the guys that are presently on the roster. Let me see, we got Top Rank on CNN. That's right. We got the home shopping network. You want to see Top Rank on the home shopping network? Okay. Top Rank on QVC. What's good, Corey Lee? Good to see you, champ. We just here trying to report on a little bit of boxing news we do got today. The Oprah Winfrey Network. You're gonna have Oprah on Top Rank. Imagine Oprah and Tim Bradley on Top Rank, cutting up. Top Rank on Nickelodeon. Yeah, shit. I'll tell you this: you put Top Rank on Nickelodeon, you put Top Rank on after an episode of SpongeBob. That'll feed families. So Top Rank on Spike TV. Well, Spike TV's been in boxing before because PBC had a deal with Spike TV. Remember, if you remember those early days of PBC, when they had PBC on a bunch of random networks, they had PBC on Bounce TV, PBC on Estrella TV. You know, it's this. We've seen Spike TV involved in boxing. Shout out to my guy Matt Borgeson, who is here with the $5 super chat. Good to see you once again, Matt, and thank you once again for your contribution. He says, do you think the 126 weight class for the taking? There really isn't a fighter who is better than everyone else clearly in that division. I think right now it definitely is a wide open division. You know, I'm a little biased, so I do think that there is a guy that's clearly better than everyone else. It's that guy in that picture right there, Angelo Leo, but he has to get the fights to prove it. So right now, objectively speaking, yeah, nobody's really proven themselves to be the best featherweight in the world. Right now, it's all hearsay. You know, some people may say Espinoza, some people might say Ball, some people might say Angelo, some people might say, you know, Bruce Carrington. Who knows? But yes, it's definitely there for the taking. I'm hoping that in the coming months, and at least in the next 12 months, that we can finally start to get some of these unification fights. Truth be told, I'm not really sure how realistic it is because Stephen Fulton, who has the WBC belt out, he's moving up to 130, so that belt's going to go vacant. I've been hearing these rumblings about Espinoza moving up to 130, but I'm not sure how true they are. But if they are true, then again, that's another fight that's not going to happen. And then Nick Ball, he's holding out hope for Inoue. So you know, I'm not really too sure what the timetable is for a unification fight. What I will say is this: if I had to bet, if you said BT, what's going to be the first unification fight that will be made in the featherweight division? I would say, if I had to bet, I would say that Angelo Leo versus Bruce Carrington will be the first unification fight. And I would say that fight would happen around this time next year. I think Bruce Carrington will probably get elevated for the belt, right? Because isn't he? Let me see. Let me fact check myself because Bruce Carrington, I know. Let me see. Is he the interim champion? I'm pretty sure he's the interim champion. Bruce Carrington is, in fact, where is he? Featherweight. So yeah, Bruce Carrington's the interim champion. So the WBC can elevate him to the title. He can get the belt and then maybe make like make a defense against a guy like I don't know, Omar Trinidad or Carlos Castro. Maybe he fights Vargas, and then the winner of that fight, I could see fighting Angelo in the unification fight. I think in the meantime, in the intermediate time, I think Angelo Leo will probably do a voluntary fight at the end of the year, and we're not going to get any featherweight unification this year. So I'm telling y'all what I believe is going to happen, and I have good reason to believe this. It's not just me saying, it's not just hearsay. I know Angelo. I'm part of the team. I know top-ranked matchmakers. I know how they think. I know one person on Espinoza's team, so I know a little bit. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it winds up going. Shout out to Matt Borgeson again with the super chat. He says, "Am I the only one who sees clear flaws in Shushu? I can't see him beating any of the 126 champions, including Nick Ball." I would say Nick Ball has the best chance. He has the best chance of beating him, but yeah, I like Shushu, but I think he definitely has his flaws. I think Shushu, you know, I think Shushu, his punching power isn't what he showed us to be early in his career. Once he started fighting more experienced, more durable guys, you know, he started to go ahead and, you know, not really get those knockouts. I think in the Sully Montagao fight, you saw that, you know, a guy that can box and move and counterpunch a little bit can give him problems. So there's a lot of things he's got to work out. I think Bruce Carrington is too much of a mid-range fighter, and I'm not sure how he's gonna correct that, but like he's too much of a mid-range fighter. So I think a guy like Ball could troubleshoot you because Ball might just get on the inside and just wear him down and maul him. Guy like Espinoza, I actually see. Funny enough, I think it's crazy to say because a lot of people view Espinoza as the best featherweight in the world, but I think it's very possible that maybe out of the champions, from a stylistic standpoint, Shushu's best bet might be Espinoza, only because of the fact that Espinoza, I think, is going to allow him to fight mid-range probably more than the other guys. You fight a guy like Ball or Leo, those guys are going to smother you. In the case of a guy like Angelo, he has the option to smother or outbox Shushu because he's got pretty good feet. So we'll see how it goes. My man Pedro thinks so. You think you're gonna pick Omar Trinidad? I really think if I was Shushu's matchmaker, that's the guy I'm going after. I think that's the guy that he'd had the most success against. Omar Trinidad, man, he's a hardworking fighter, blue collar fighter. He's not no world class blue chip talent, but yeah, he's, to me, in this weight class, he's got the most to improve upon, and he's probably like if I'm looking at the top 15. Because I've watched everybody in the top 15 fight, he's probably the weakest link. He's the guy that if I'm a champion and I want a defense that's a little more favorable for me, that's the guy I'm looking at. Because he's really showing a lot of flaws in these fights. Has NBC ever been with boxing, or am I tripping for not remembering? PBC had shows on NBC. PBC had PBC's first ever show with Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman fought Robert Guerrero on NBC. I think that was Broner versus John Molina as well on the same card. So the first ever PBC show was on NBC. But the thing is, it was so long ago that some of you guys may have forgot. It was 10 years ago, over 10 years ago now. So yeah, they've been involved. Pretty much when it comes to American channels, NBC, ABC, Fox, who else? Spike TV, Bounce TV. Even BET had a fight one time. Like the majority of the top channels, pretty much all the top channels in America have had boxing on before. So that when I hear Rick Laser say it's going to be a network that boxing's never been on, I'm like, damn. Well, what network could that be? Because boxing's been on damn near every big time sports network in America. CBS. I mean, boxing was on CBS. Back in like the 80s, right? Back in the day when they had boxing on network television, like Howard Cosell and all of them, they had boxing on ABC or CBS. Danny Garcia versus Keith Thurman was on CBS. So I don't know about that one. My man David says, I'm not high on 126 like that. I think, for example, if Carrington moved up to 130, he would lose to several guys like Satsumi, Nunez, Suarez. I think all those guys would be Carrington. Well, I think the same could apply for the fights at featherweight. I just think Top Rank is being very, very smart, very, very strategic with Bruce Carrington because he's probably like the best fighter in the division at promoting himself. He does a great job talking and building up hype for his fights, and they pumped a lot of money into his career. So they're gonna make sure they move him a certain way and give him every opportunity to grow as a fighter and develop, so that when he does fight for a world title or when he does get awarded the belt or whatever the case may be, he has a chance to thrive. You know what I'm saying? So, and David says, I think Angelo Leo is the best. He is the best. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you that to the cows come home, and I'm down that hill because I know what kind of fighter he is, and I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm gonna keep saying it. Some of you guys can believe, some of y'all can choose not to believe, but it's gonna be proven that I was correct as time goes on. And I'm looking forward to the next fight because I'm not gonna disclose who it is, but I think he might have his next fight locked in. I'm not sure if it's finalized, but I'll wait for it to get out there. But we'll see. It's not gonna be a big name. It's not gonna be any of the guys you want to see him fight, because all the guys you want to see him fight are either moving up or they're waiting for somebody else, or they turned us down. So make it that what you will. But at least he'll get a chance to stay active and continue to build his name up a bit more, and let people know that he's one of the best fighters out there. So I'm excited about that. Shout out to my guy, Matt. He says, Ball beat Ford, who I thought was the best. Okay, you thought Ford was the? I mean, Ford is good. I give Ford his credit. You know, Ford beat a guy that I thought was one of the best in Komatov, so I can't hate. I can't hate on you for that. But I don't know, man. Apart from that one night against Komatov, Raymond Ford as a featherweight never really impressed me. And at 130, he's been good, but I think he could do better. You know, I think he could. I think there's another level he can get to. So maybe when he fights someone dangerous, someone that's a big name, maybe they'll go ahead and maybe he'll go to another level. We'll see. All right, last couple comments, and then I'll go to my next talking point because I want to talk about this whole Dubois Don Charles situation. It's ridiculous what Dubois is doing right now. But my man Joel says, BT, I'm in the boxing scene rankings and I don't see Bruce Carrington in the rankings. I'm probably blind. Well, because if you go to the WBC and look at the champions, he'll be ranked right underneath what is it, Fulton right now? Yeah, I think Fulton. Yeah, he's right under the Fulton, and it'll say in parentheses, it'll say interim. He's the interim champion. So he's more than a ranked fighter. He's basically the champion in waiting. What's up, BT? Do you agree that with the idea that Mason Noakes can look similar to Ball versus Ford? I think it's a more explosive fight than Ball versus Ford. I feel like Ball versus Ford was more of like a, I don't want to say a chess match, but there was a lot of boxing going on in that fight. In the early rounds, I feel like Mason versus Noakes is going to be a firefight. I feel like you're going to get some really, really high level exchanges. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna say not really. I don't agree with that. All right, Asian fighters have a reputation for fighting reckless and dying in the ring. What are your thoughts on this? I did a whole video, Pam Room. Good to see you in the chat, Pam Room. It's good. It's always nice to see the regular viewers in the chat. As far as Asian fighters, I think that's very correct. A lot of them do fight reckless. I think defense is something that trainers and I'm speaking more so from the Japanese boxing perspective because that's the country I'm most familiar with, and I spent a lot of time there. I feel like Asian fighters, particularly the Japanese, they don't know how to teach defense. Everything is offense. It's offense. The philosophy of boxing is offense, 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 more offense, then maybe some defense. You know, it's all offense. So because of that, because of this like attack first mentality, they make for great fights, of course, but it leaves them very vulnerable to counter punchers and heavy-handed punchers and guys that are heavy-handed counter punchers, i.e., look at Brian O'Majiri did the Jindazaki. So, yeah. But anyway, let me go ahead and go to my next talking point, and we'll go to screen share because I do want to camp out on this for a little bit. You know, you got Daniel Dubois out here firing John Charles. You know, let the blames begin, not the games. Let the blames begin because this happens in boxing all the time. I always see it with fighters. You know, you when you're winning and things are going good, you know, you're giving your coach all this credit. You know, he changed me. He did this, that, and the third. But then as soon as you lose, as soon as you get your ass kicked, as soon as a lot of these fighters get put on a highlight reel, they can't be accountable and say, you know what, I just got my ass kicked and the other guy was a better man. No, they can't take full responsibility and they can't take full ownership. They got to fire the coach. So let's talk about that for a second because I'm not no Don Charles. I'm not the biggest fan of Don Charles. I think sometimes Don Charles comes off as like, you know, he's had some times in his career where I question him. I question, you know, how good of a trainer is he really? But when speaking about and when referring to his partnership with Daniel Dubois, I feel like it's easy to it's very fair to say that Don Charles, unlike Shane McGuigan, you know, who did a good job, but I think Don Charles was able to unlock a part of Daniel Dubois that wasn't there previously. Because if you look at the reasons as to why Dubois got over the hump against a guy like, let's say, Filip Hrgovic, right? The reason that Dubois got over the hump against a guy like Filip Hrgovic is because Don Charles was really adamant about teaching Dubois what is referred to as the dark arts in boxing, meaning, you know, some stuff that's dirty and illegal. Like, and I know it sounds crazy, but like he was able to unlock a certain level of grit in Dubois that was not unlocked in him previously. If you look at Dubois before Don Charles, he was, you know, your classic textbook British fighter who was very heavy-handed, 1-2s down the middle, and all that stuff. When he fought Don Charles, he started fighting a little bit more to his size and his frame, and was a lot more physical in the pocket, which is why he made Philip Hrgović very uncomfortable and battered him to a stoppage victory, which ultimately changed the trajectory of his career. And then he fought Anthony Joshua and wound up counter punching him into oblivion. And so his finest moments of his career were with Don Charles. Even the first Usyk fight, even that first Usyk fight where he landed that body shot, that really low blow body shot, that debated shot that put Usyk down, that was under Don Charles. So do I feel like it's right that he fires Don Charles? No, I don't, because and this is just me. Maybe you guys have a different opinion, but in my own personal life, and especially with fighters that I deal with and stuff like that, I'm very like loyal to the fighters that I know and like work with and stuff like that. And I'm a very loyal friend. Like anybody who knows me outside of YouTube, that's my friend. They'll tell you like BT's like super loyal. Even I could be mad at someone. I could be angry. I could be angry to the point where like I don't want to talk to you no more. And I had a situation like that with a friend of mine recently where like I was really angry at him and I didn't want to talk to him for the rest of his life because he pissed me off. And then I was able to put my pride out to the side and eventually humble myself and help my friend out with a very, very important situation in his life. So I'm very loyal, even sometimes to a fault. So I'm a big believer in, if someone helped you get to a certain place and they help you get to, if they help you get to a certain place in your career or in your life, you stick with the people that got you there to the dance. Now, of course, there does come a time where you have to look after your own best interests and eventually, do what's best for you. But I don't think this is one of those cases where Dubois is actually doing what's best for him. He's training with Tony Sims, right? And Tony Sims is a good coach. I like Tony Sims, but I think Don Charles and Dubois was a good fit. There's no shame in losing to Usyk. Everyone's lost to Usyk. Usyk's the best heavyweight of his era, and quite possibly the best fighter of the post Floyd Mayweather era. I personally think that no matter what happens in the Canelo Crawford fight, that Usyk is the best fighter in the post Floyd Mayweather era. Sorry, Terrence Crawford. Sorry, Naoya Inoue. Sorry, Canelo Alvarez. Sorry, Roman Gonzalez. Sorry to all you guys. But Alexander Usyk is the best fighter in the post Floyd Mayweather era, right? So you lost to a special fighter. It's not Don Charles' fault that you lost to him twice. He did the best he could to get you ready. The thing is, Dubois, I think Dubois, like, look, man, he's shown some toughness in his career to get to where he got to, like, to rebuild himself. So I'll give him some credit. But we know that the big knock on Dubois for the majority of his career has been his lack of ability to grind it out when things get tough. He's been called a quitter on more than one occasion, in his career. And so I feel like, he's quitting right here. He's quitting on Don Charles. I feel like Don Charles is getting done dirty, in my opinion. Maybe you guys see it different. But yeah, I feel like this is wrong because Don Charles, I didn't really classify him too highly when he worked with other fighters, but I thought for Dubois, he was the right guy. And boxing's a results-based business, and they was getting results. That's why they got these big fights. But what do you guys think? What do the fine folks of YouTube actually think about this whole situation? Dubois got so much better with Don Charles. He did. He got a lot better with Don Charles. He actually started fighting like a mean, vicious heavyweight. He was not like that. Like, I know everyone is saying, like, I saw Anthony Fowler today going on Twitter talking bullshit about, oh, you should have stayed with Shane McGuigan. Now, look, I like Shane. Shane McGuigan's a good coach. But in my opinion, Dubois got a lot better with Don Charles. Dubois became Dubois under Don Charles. Everything else before and everything else is about to come after, it don't measure up. Like, so, I hope Dubois at some point in his career can rectify this because, there's coaches that I don't like really grade highly, but for certain fighters, it works. Like, for example, a lot of people in boxing think that Virgil Hunter is a great trainer. I don't. I think Virgil Hunter is not that great of a coach at all. I think he's actually pretty bad. But for Andre Ward, Virgil Hunter works. For Andre Ward, Virgil Hunter works. So I can't say that he was bad with Andre Ward, but everyone else, he ain't really like that. And I kind of feel the same way about Don Charles. Like, he was okay with other guys, but with Dubois, they get each other. They understand each other. So that's what it is. You notice when Dubois got knocked down in the second Usyk fight, he popped back up after getting counted out and walked to the corner of the ring, not being on shaky legs. Yeah, I don't feel like it was that bad this time around. But again, that goes back to what I'm saying. Dubois has always had, from even before he turned pro, he's always had this problem of people quitting on him or him being a quitter. People have accused him of that in the past, like against Joe Joyce and even when he was an amateur. So, I feel like he's quitting on Don Charles. And, people always, this is the other side of boxing that people don't talk about, because fighters are always quick to point out that, promoters wrong them or managers wrong them or trainers wrong them. And of course, you're talking about human beings and a lot of feelings and ego and emotion being involved. So you're going to always have these things in boxing. But the other side of the equation is that a lot of times these fighters be on some bullshit. Like a lot of these fighters just be on some straight bullshit. And I think right here, this is a great example of a fighter being on some grade A bullshit. A man right here, Pedro, it's who reaches you. Exactly. Trainer to fighter relationships aren't just about, how good the trainer is, how good the fighter is. It's how they come to a place of understanding, and it's like maybe Don Charles couldn't reach Derek Chisora like he could reach a guy like Dubois, but Charles was able, for some reason, Don Charles was able to reach Daniel Dubois in a unique way that was able to pull the best out of him. You understand? So I think it's wrong, man. I really think Dubois is in the wrong here, and I'll tell you this, man. If I'm Filip Hrgović right now, if I'm Filip Hrgović, yo, I'm getting on the phone. If I'm Keith Conley, I'm getting on the phone. I'm doing whatever I can. I'm calling Turkey. I'm calling Frank Warren. I'm calling whoever I gotta call to get that Dubois rematch, because Dubois, he don't got Don Charles in his corner anymore. He's coming off of a devastating stoppage loss. Yo, I would get that rematch as soon as possible. Beat the brakes off Dubois and avenge that loss, so that I can, now position myself for a heavyweight title shot, and now be able to say that, hey, I had this bad night against Dubois here, but I've defeated every man that I've stepped in the ring with. So if I'm Hrgović, I'm going after the big boy. I'm going after Dubois right now, because Dubois is in a vulnerable position, a very vulnerable position. He may not realize it. He may have somebody in his ears telling him that, hey, do this. Don is this and Don is that. But he's in a vulnerable position, because anytime you get rid of somebody who got you to a very, very high place in the sport, and deep down that you're only firing him because you lost the fight and you don't want to take responsibility, then guess what? It comes back to haunt you and bite you in the ass. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm assuming that Daniel Dubois is like me, because me in my own life, like, I take responsibility for everything. If I fuck up, it's my fault. If I do well, it's my fault. Either way, it's my fault. 100% ownership. If I'm rich, it's my fault. If I'm poor, it's my fault. That's how I treat it. But not most people aren't like that. So maybe he's just trying to find someone to blame. Virgil Hunter didn't teach much to Andre Ward. The main arsenal was the nut punch. I mean, I hear you. I wasn't a fan of Andre Ward's style. I felt like he did box more dirty than most fighters. If you go back and you dig through the archive of this channel, I had those videos from when I was like 21 and 22 years old going off on Ward. So I don't want to get back into that spirit, but he was able to get to Ward in ways he wasn't able to get to other fighters. So that's the point I'm making. Dubois looked like Mike Tyson against Anthony Joshua and looked like Buster Douglas against Holyfield. The drop off between fight was diabolical, and I agree with the firing of his trainer. Okay, well, fair enough. I don't, because the way he lost this fight wasn't any different than when he lost to like Joe Joyce. He's lost the same way for years. I feel like Dubois is too muscle bound. You're not wrong. Gervonta wanted to have a draw when he had Calvin almost all the way out of his. That's what I'm saying. The perfect example, right? Calvin Ford was there, but he was there physically, but he didn't really have influence fully over what was going on in the corner. You saw when he fought Roach, Tank wasn't Tank, and there's many factors that I believe played a role in that. But that's one of the factors that I feel played a role in that. So it's very important. You know, one thing about boxing, and if listen, I don't know who's listening because it says there's 56 people watching right now. So I know out of this 56 people listening, there might be somebody that's a fighter out there listening. So if you're a fighter out there listening, please hear what I'm going to tell you, because the most important thing a fighter needs to do, apart from, you know, training hard and watching his weight and being disciplined, is if you get to a certain level in boxing where you're being successful, you're winning world titles, you're making money. You know, the hardest thing to do in boxing, I feel, for fighters is stay humble and keep your team that help you be successful intact. Because, you know, sometimes people get in somebody's ears and egos get involved, and, you know, you're dealing with humans. So there's all kinds of things that can and will go wrong at some point, and you need to be able to navigate these issues. So the best things that fighters can do is keep the team in order, because if you don't keep your team in order, and you're a successful fighter, you know, you're fighting on TV, you're winning world titles, you're showing out, even one missing link of your team can make all the difference. And, no, and I'm not speaking out of my ass. I'm talking from experience here. I'm talking from experience. So that's why I'm not a fan of Caleb Plant with Bradman Edwards. Because why? Because he got rid of Justin Gamber. I can see Dubois become the new Chisora, and someone that just lingers around, but always fun, but never the best. Yeah, that's very possible. That's extremely possible. I think, in my opinion, I think we've already seen the best of Dubois. I don't like, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I think he is never going to reach the heights of what he experienced beating Hrgović and Joshua back to back. Prove me wrong. I don't think he will. I think he's been, even though he's young in age, I think he's been beat up a lot. He's been in some really hard fights. And I don't think that canning Don Charles is going to have to go ahead and I don't think Don Charles is going to, I don't think getting rid of Don Charles is going to take him to another level. Because Don Charles, like Pedro said, Don Charles, for whatever the case may be, is the trainer and the coach that could get through to Dubois, that could unlock certain parts of Dubois. Sure, maybe Don Charles wasn't good with other fighters, but he was good with Dubois, and that's the important thing. Bradman doesn't reach Caleb. It's a mutual respect. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really a fan of the Bradman Edwards appointment for Caleb Plant, because my thing is, what I was looking for. See, when Caleb first hired Bradman Edwards, what I was hoping to see was the development of a consistent straight right hand. Because if you look at Caleb Plant's punch selection, it's literally 3 punches he throws. He throws a single jab, he throws an up jab, and he throws the left hook. The straight right hand is virtually non-existent. And I feel like that's the punch that, for Caleb Plant, if he could ever just make it even an average punch for him, it would have taken him to a whole other stratosphere. And, you know, with Bradman being a Philadelphia trainer, you know, a lot of Philadelphia fighters, that's a very popular punch in Philly, you know. And, you know, going off of like other fighters, Bradman Edwards had like Julian Williams. Julian Williams has a good straight right hand. So I'm like, okay, maybe it could work. But really, in my opinion, Caleb Plant hasn't really changed much at all. The only thing that really changed at all was that he got a little bit more comfortable fighting in the pocket, which I think is a good testament to maybe some of the work that him and Bradman Edwards did in the gym. But he's pretty much still the same fighter from when he fought like Jose Uzcategui. Punch selection is the same. Yeah, Dubois is taking a lot of punishment. So his 28 years old isn't like a normal 28 years old. He's got some miles on the odometer. And you guys mentioned Hrgović, he'd be a good test for Itama. I think he would. And listen, man, my thoughts on Moses versus Hrgović, I think it's an amazing fight. I think Moses has a great speed advantage in the fight, but where I think Hrgović will have the great equalizer is in the timing department and the straight right hand department, and the fact that it's an orthodox versus southpaw matchup. So he may listen. Y'all keep going around underestimating Hrgović. I don't think Moses is getting him out of there in 6 rounds. Hrgović is too durable and experienced for that. And don't even be shocked if Moses get his O snatched by Hrgović. He needs to fight someone at a lower level and go some rounds. I think if he fights Hrgovic right now, he's on a. I'm putting him on a high upset alert. I don't care what none of y'all say. All right, couple more comments, and then I'm gonna go to. Let me see. What was the next thing? I think I'm gonna talk some Jared Anderson, right? Because Jared Anderson had a very interesting post on Instagram today, so I wanted to talk about that for a little bit. But he said, "Hold on, I just thought I was thinking, if I'm Frank Warren, I'd make Moses versus Dubois right now. That's the perfect fight. Oh my God, Dubois still has a high stock because those wins against Hrgovic and those wins against Joshua are still fresh in people's minds. You know, that'd be a great fight for. I mean, Moses versus him, Moses versus Adelaide, Moses versus Wardley. Like Moses has a lot of options, a whole lot of options. So yeah." Moses versus Andy Ruiz is a great fight to build up his resume, former unified heavyweight champ. Yeah, I like that fight. You know, Andy Ruiz ain't, what he used to be, but, on paper, it looks nice. Anyway, yeah, I agree. By the way, Hrgovic got one of the top 5 chins in boxing. I think he probably got the second or third best chin in boxing. Honestly, because he's been hurt by some murderous punchers, and he's survived, Mirko Cuello is not the mandatory for Nick Ball. Nick Ball is not wanting to unify to avoid the mandatory. Are they in talks with Angela Leo? From what I've heard, absolutely not. No. Speaking as a part of the team, no. There's been no discussions, to my knowledge, about a Nick Ball fight. There's been no discussions really about any unification fights because 2 of the current champions at featherweight, one is moving up, and the other one I'm hearing is that wants to move up, and then the other one doesn't want to fight any actual featherweights. So it's like, what the fuck? Like, I think the only option is going to be for Angelo to fight as voluntary, which, based on what I heard today, it sounds like it's going to happen. So, anyway, let me go ahead and get to this Jared Anderson post because Jared Anderson had something to say on Instagram today. Make sure you guys smash that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. It's everybody's favorite late night boxing TV program, True School After Dark. Definitely super chat and let me know what city, what state, what continent you're from. Like, I want to know how international we are on the broadcast because I know I got big audience in the States, of course. I know I got a big audience in Japan. I got a big audience in Europe and all over the world. So it's always fun to see like where everybody's from. But anyway, let me go to screen share. Right quick because everybody's favorite heavyweight. Mr. I'm only 23 to the pressure though. But Jared ain't asked for it. Jared Anderson. He was y'all like that, don't you? He was on Twitter today, right? And he put up a post, right? Now, I don't know if he's quoting a rap lyric, because a lot of times, especially with Jared, a lot of these captions be rap lyrics, like they be straight rap lyrics. So maybe this is a rap lyric, but he put on his Instagram today, and I quote, "Name a youngin with a better run in the last 5 years. Just taking a sec to appreciate this shit. Hashtag not done yet." So look, I don't know if that's rap lyric or if you're actually asking us the question, but if you are asking us the question, Jared, here's some answers. You got Abdullah Mason. He had a better 5-year run. Bams had a better 5-year run. Mosley Tama definitely had a better 5-year run. Xander, Devin, Brian Norman Jr. I mean, how many guys do you want us to name? A lot of guys have had a better 5-year run than Jared Anderson. But what I will say is this about the youngin, Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson, I hope he finds it in his heart to find that fire for the sport of boxing because I do think he's talented. Now, have I ever been as high on him as Top Rank? No. Have I ever been as high on him as some of his own sparring partners that I've interviewed on this channel? No. Have I ever thought for even a millimeter of a second, a fraction of a second, that he was the next Riddick Bowe? Fuck no. But he is talented. He's got some speed. He can switch it, and I do think somewhere in there is a unique blend of talent that is waiting to come out and show itself to the world. I do think that Jared Anderson, when he fought Bukoli, when Bukoli was punching and beating him up, beating the brakes off of him, he didn't punk, he didn't cow, he didn't go out like a punk. He tried to fight to the best of his abilities, and it just wasn't enough on that day. So maybe that had to happen, and maybe all the trials and tribulations he's gone through outside of boxing had to happen so that he could go ahead here and be his best self. But it sounds like, based on this Instagram post, it sounds like, because he put right here, as you guys can see, he put hashtag not done yet. sounds like he's getting ready to come back. Sounds like he's getting ready to fight again, and that maybe something's caught a hold of him. Now, look, if Jared Anderson does come back, who do you guys want to see him fight? Because I feel like there's a whole truckload of options for him. Hold on a second. Need some water. But yeah, there's a whole truckload of options for him. I know a popular subject of this live and the last couple of lives have been Moses Itama, who is the new heavyweight hope of boxing, right? Maybe Jared versus him. What do you guys think about Jared versus him? What do you guys think about? I know a while ago, Jared Anderson versus Hergovich was a fight that people were talking about back in like late 2023. What do you guys think about that fight? What about Jared versus I don't know, Dubois? What about Dubois? That's a fight. What about Jared Anderson versus Dubois? Those two could definitely run it, run the squabble, shoot the fade, and do their thing there. But I feel like Jared. I'm gonna afford Jared at least one more chance to screw up, because now he's felt like what it's like to lose. He can kind of breathe a little bit because now there's a lot less pressure on him. Because now people don't expect anything of him, because the last image that they saw of him was him getting parked, getting beat the hell up. And I remember, that fight very, very well, because I remember I was in LA for that fight. It was on undercard of Crowder versus Majimov. I was hanging out with my good buddy Christina Ramirez, KO Christie. Shout out to her. She works for Golden Boy now. And I was sitting with her during the fight, and she was telling me that Jared Anderson was gonna win, and I said, "Nah, man, this African about to park him," and then that's exactly what happened. So I remember it clearly, as clear as any fight I've ever encountered. But really and truthfully, Jared Anderson, I do think, I don't think he was ever as good as the media made him out to be, or as Top Rank made him out to be. But I don't think he's as bad as everybody's saying he is in the aftermath of the Bukoy loss, him not fighting. I think, the truth with him is somewhere in the middle. So, what fights do y'all want to see Jared Anderson partake in the coming, years or coming months? Sounds like he's getting ready for a comeback, getting ready to fight again, because he's out here saying he's not done yet. What do you guys think? Let me see. Yeah, I was there. I was definitely there. I was going when Bakoli parked him. I was going crazy, because I never hated Jared. I don't hate anybody, and I never really disliked Jared. I didn't like when they were comparing him to Riddick Bowe, because that's like guy like Riddick Bowe is someone that I've learned so much about boxing from. I used to train with him and stuff like 6 years ago. He used to wrap my hands, and he taught me a lot about boxing. So I know how I really know more than most how great Riddick Bowe was, how smart he was of a fighter. And nah, man, they don't make Riddick Bowe's. Those type of fighters they don't come around every single day. So I didn't like that, but that wasn't Jared doing the comparison. That was Top Rank. So it's not his fault, but just didn't. I couldn't get behind him because of that. Jared Anderson versus Dave Allen. Great fight. Allen's gonna fight Makhmudov. If Allen actually beats Makhmudov, then Allen's stock is gonna be at an all-time high, because that would be back-to-back wins against Johnny Fisher and Makhmudov. Which you could say at that point maybe it's the best Dave Allen of all time. And Allen, if they do it like in the UK, they sell tickets there. Street background. Jared's street background is why I don't talk shit about him. What about his street background? What about Angelo Leo? Shout out to my man Sebastian in the chat. Did I see Kenneth Lovera's performance? Yes, I watched it last night before I went to sleep. Man, Luis Concepcion, it's sad, man. He's really past it. I mean, still durable even at his age, but it's sad to watch him, because he was once former champion. He was very good. He was pretty good 10 years ago, but didn't like seeing that part of it. But Kenneth did what he's supposed to do with a faded champion, and it's a good step to have that first former world champion on your resume. So now hopefully they can get him a guy who's a little younger and fresher, and we can see more. Y'all want to see him against Caballel versus Jared versus Guido. I like that fight. That sounds real Top Rank. That's a Top Rank fight. Junto Nakatani ducked Kenneth Lovere. Man, Kenneth Lovere. Maybe you could even say Seiya Satsumi. Because, truth be told, I feel like what Junto did going up to 122. I know he's fighting Inoue, so nobody's gonna criticize him for it. But the same thing I say about Boots to a degree, I can say it about Junto. He didn't really fully solidify himself as the number one guy at 118. The same way Boots didn't solidify himself as the number one guy at 147. And the thing is, right? And the thing is, he hasn't signed an official contract to fight Inoue yet. And there's a possibility that if one of them get drilled and lose before they're supposed to fight, that the fight goes up in smokes. So you can't even really give them credit for going up to 122 until they both get to the next fight and we see the official fight poster and we know that it's happening for sure. Because they're both going to continue to fight. So if they're both going to continue to fight, they're both running the risk that the Inoue Nakatani super fight goes up in smokes. Shout out to my main man, I am Mexico. He says, "Hello, BT. How you doing? I'm doing good. It's been a very tiring day, very busy day, but I'm happy. I'm happy here." Hyro says, "I want to see Angelo fight a black guy, a crafty slick fighter. Why not? I mean, there's not and he won his first world title against Tremaine Williams, who was that. So yeah." Yeah, I'm not saying that. I mean, anybody can say what they want to say. I'm not gonna say that. I thought like Dubois has been punched less and stopped and quit in fights. Jared didn't. So I'll give Jared credit. The one real fight he had. He fought to the best of his abilities and didn't quit in the fight. It's just that he was outgunned and didn't really have any answers. People think Jared isn't done yet. Jared himself has said the opposite. He is only in box for the money. His heart isn't there. And that's pretty much where I'm at. Like, I feel like, and that's how I've always felt. He's always never really looked invested in the sport. Top Rank really gave him soft matchmaking, probably some of the softest matchmaking of any prospect in boxing. The only guy on the Top Rank stable that I feel has been matched softer than Jared Anderson before the McCauley fight, of course, is Jalalov. Jalalov hasn't fought anybody. Oh my God, it's bad. But like he's fighting nobody, and everyone's saying he's this killer. He's this, he's that. Yo, I'm not drinking the Jalalov Kool-Aid. True. You know what? That's the fight they gotta do. That's the fight that Top Rank has to do. They gotta do Jared Anderson versus Jalalov. If Jared Anderson loses that fight, Top Rank can cut Jared Anderson all the way. If Jalalov gets beat by Jared Anderson, then they know Jalalov really ain't going nowhere because Jared Anderson is not even like a top 10 heavyweight. So that's the fight they should do. I would like that fight because I feel like they've both been match soft and both been in the witness protection program, so to speak. Y'all want to see him against Wilder. Okay. That's a funny one. Yeah, well, he has no. You're not wrong about that one, but to in his defense, I'm no Johnny Beck like fanboy or nothing like that, but he's in probably the weakest weight class in the whole sport of boxing. Like I think the middleweight division is the worst weight class in boxing. So there's not a whole lot of options in terms of opponents, and then the guys that would fight him aren't big names, so you guys probably wouldn't give him credit for beating those guys, and his management team doesn't want to fight those guys, so. Everybody is ducking Johnny Beck. That is definitely not true. I know two middleweights ranked that'll fight him. One of them has already fought him. That guy is Denzel Bentley, who's won a couple fights since losing to Johnny Beck. He wants to rematch. And then the other guy that I know will fight him is Ian Green, one of the best kept secrets at middleweight. But Johnny Beck knows why they won't offer him that fight. They know why they won't offer him that fight, and I'll leave it at that because we don't want to tell no one. BT, why are you so sure that Inoue won't win his next two fights against MJ and Junto? Would you say Inoue beats them both when these fights happen in 2023? He hasn't been down he hadn't been down then. It's just a combination of like him getting a little older, him, I know he's now one encouraging thing about Inoue is that he said for this fight, he's gonna work more on his boxing. You're gonna see him be a bit more calculated. So I feel like that's what he needs to be. He needs to mix things up a bit. He can't be this mid-range fighter trying to explode because you get caught by MJ, you get caught by one of them right hooks, that'd be it for you. And with Junto, I feel like Junto has the volume to outwork Inoue to a decision. I really do. So it's just more so like of how he's been fighting and what's been happening to him in the last couple of fights, and then knowing what those two guys bring to the table. Now, I want Inoue. Trust me, I am rooting my ass off for Inoue to beat both these guys for a couple of reasons. One of those reasons is because I want to go to featherweight because I want Angelo to fight him. The other reason I'm gonna keep to myself because it's a very selfish reason that I can't disclose publicly. But yeah, he needs to just win these fights. I'm going for him. I just have concerns. What's going on with Ian Green right now? Right now with Ian Green, Ian Green is he's a promotional free agent. He's not with Don King anymore, to my understanding, and that's really it right now. He's talking to a couple guys and trying to get some things straightened out with his career. But like again, I talk Ian's a good friend of mine. We talk a lot. We talk a lot. He's never told me about any offers from Johnny Beck. So listen, I there's some guys who will fight him. I don't like MJ, but at least I acknowledge that he's good. Like, no, MJ is good. I just don't like, he's done the bare minimum in his career. He's been a bit annoying. But he can definitely punch, and he's definitely the best fighter in a way spot since Stephen Fulton. There's no doubt about that. No doubt at all. Maybe you could say maybe since Marlon Tapales, because Marlon Tapales did beat him, but yeah. BT said, BT, you need to sign Blair Cobbs. Blair Cobbs is already signed. I can't sign Blair Cobbs, and I don't have the money to sign Blair Cobbs. I don't have the money to sign none of these fights. I'm just a kid from Daniel with a YouTube channel. Ian Green says that Ian Green is here. We mentioned Ian Green. Ian Green is here. He's in the chat, guys. So if you have any questions, there was one guy asking what's going on, Ian Green. Direct your questions to Ian Green. He is here because they say that Johnny Beck don't want to fight. That nobody wants to fight Johnny Beck. Everyone is scared of Johnny Beck. I know for a fact that this is a guy that will fight Johnny Beck if that paperwork got passed. And to my knowledge, never heard about no paperwork being passed. Blair Cobbs is a fucking cornball. He declined a Rohan Polanco fight. He thinks he's important, and he needs to get back that Rocha fight. Yeah, with Blair, Blair, he wants to Blair Cobbs, he wants to go ahead and he wants to fight guys that are mega attractions. He wants to fight Keith Thurman. That's the fight I want to see, guys. Like, I know Keith Thurman's supposedly fighting Fundora, which I'm not going to complain about, but I'll tell you this. I would pay good money. There's not many fights in boxing I'll pay to watch. I would pay good money to watch Blair Cobbs versus Keith Thurman. Just for the shit talking, just for the build-up. Like, and I think it'd be a good fight, too. That's who Blair should fight. But Blair's not gonna fight. Like, I know I know Blair won't fight. You said Polanco, right? That's one guy I know he won't fight. And another guy I know he won't fight is Trayshawn Wiggins, because I've asked him about it and I didn't get a great answer. Which I thought the Trayshawn Wiggins fight made a lot of sense because they're both on Don King. They both he beat Broner, right? But Trayshawn Wiggins stopped the guy that Broner was supposed to fight in one round, and Chris Howard. So I felt like that fight made sense. Wiggins was at a time, and I think he still is ranked higher than Blair Cobbs in the NABA ranking because he's NABA champion. I think Blair's like 1 or 2. So yeah. Shout out to Ian Green. He says Ian Green left Don King. Big news coming soon. And you got Ian Green referring to himself in the third person, like Bo Jackson. Like Bo Jackson, he used to refer to himself in the third person. Deion Sanders used to refer to himself in the third person. So there you go. Just be patient, guys. Be patient. That's really that's really the middleweight that's my favorite middleweight. That's the middleweight y'all need to be talk. Like I know there's not really much to talk about because he's not fighting, but why don't y'all go ask? Listen, I'm gonna give you guys a homework assignment because Johnny Beck is gonna get on Twitter or whoever the fuck runs his Twitter page is gonna get on Twitter and they're gonna say that nobody wants to fight them. I go on Twitter. The next time you see Johnny Beck say that nobody wants to fight him, and go ask Johnny Beck and go ask Egis Klimas. Message both of them and ask, why won't you fight Ian Green? Ask them that question, and just see what they said. Just see what they say. See if they say anything. My man said Blair Cobbs can't afford to decline anything. And then you say you want to see Blair Cobbs. That's a good fight. Blair Cobbs versus Tiger Johnson. I like that fight. That's a hell of a fight. Yeah, he has to do something, but I feel like Blair isn't gonna fight anybody who's not already an established name. He wants to fight an established name, even if the guys are washed up and old. You know, he wants to fight Keith Thurman. He wants to fight. You know, he fought Adrian Broner. So I don't think you see Blair Cobbs against a guy like, you know, Tiger Johnson or Nicholas Flaus or Trayshawn Wiggins or those kind of guys. I feel like he's not gonna go that route. I've talked to him personally, so I already know he's not going those kind of routes. But I wish him the best. I'm a Blair Cobbs fan, big Blair Cobbs fan. The established names don't even know that Blair Cobb exists. That's not true. That is definitely not true. Jerron Ennis knows who he is. They're both from Philly. They both sparred. How could any of the established names not know who Blair Cobbs is? He's one of the fighters that promotes himself the best in boxing. How the hell this dude's yelling in the camera? He's doing the whole Ric Flair shit. He's saying "woo" every 5 seconds. Nah, they know who Blair is, bro. Blair Cobbs was gate crashing press conferences in Vegas. You know they know. Ian Green says, "I'm putting belt to ass on every middleweight. Watch these next 8 months." Listen. I ain't saying it. You getting it right from the source. You know, you getting it right from the source, and I co-sign what he says. I'm with Ian Green. You know, I'm team Ian Green. You know, 150%. You know, because I go to a lot of fights, man. And I remember I was covering these Don King shows. And a lot at that time, I didn't even know most of the fighters on the card, and I just see this dude Ian Green fight. I remember I interviewed him the day before I watched him fight Alexander Castro, and you know it was a tough fight, tougher than he probably wishes it was, but it was one of them classic fights. If you never watched it, go check it out. The only like full copy of that fight you can find on YouTube is on True School Sports. Go check it out. But like, I learned everything I needed to know about him in that fight to know that he's really really good. And then I went back and I've been put on game and watched like older performances of his when he used to box a bit more. He's got a lot of tools, man. Got a whole lot of tools. Y'all say Blair Cobbs versus yeah, sign me up, man. Sign me up. Yo, that's like, I'm not even playing with you guys. That's like the #1 fight at welterweight I want to see. That's two dudes who can punch and two dudes who might get knocked the fuck out. Like that, those are two gunslingers. I don't know who I fear in that fight. I feel like if it ends early, I go Blair. But if it gets past the 5th round, I got Jin. Because I think Jin got a better Jin Sasaki got a better engine than Blair. But I think Blair might be a little more explosive early on. So that'd be a good one. I might, hold on. I'm writing that down. We're gonna do a video on that. Hold on. I'm doing a video on that. Hold on. Before I forget. Because every now and then you guys tell me these mythical matchups or potential matchups, and they make sense for videos. So that's it. We're gonna do Blair Cobbs, Jin Sasaki. Two gunslingers. Ares 90 Laurel would stop Ian Green within 6 rounds. Green ain't nothing special, just a journeyman. Nah, you don't know what a journeyman is. That's not Ian Green's not a journeyman. How could he be a journeyman? How could he be a journeyman? Journeyman is like someone who has like 10 losses, 9 losses. That's someone that's never beaten anybody. Or I want to say no, there's good journeymen, but I'm saying, nah, man, you tripping. Laura will get the fucking shit kicked out of him when he fought Ian Green. I'll put cash on that. Like, bro, Laura Lara is one of the softest matched fighters in the whole champions in the whole sport of boxing. I'm getting tired of him. Like he needs to fight like somebody good soon and figure out if he still wants to box. Because you out here fighting Danny Garcia. Like Danny Garcia, not even a middleweight. So I'm hearing that Xander wants to bring up Santillan 154 for his Puerto Rican fight, but I'm thinking Goucher is more likely of an opponent. I've heard the same thing. I've heard Santillan's name mentioned. Goucher, I mean, Goucher was a fighter that, remember Tim Tszyu made his American debut against Goucher, but I'm gonna wait and see with Xander. I'm thinking Josh Kelly. I've been banging the drum and beating the table for a Josh Kelly fight. Not because I want to see it. It's just the fight that I think he's gonna make because I didn't think Josh Kelly would actually fight Boots. I knew Boots would try to fight him. I know Boots make an offer, but I didn't think Josh Kelly would accept. So I've always thought since that happened that Josh Kelly was gonna fight Xander. Know what I'm saying? You're real quiet. Who's real quiet? And what am I quiet about? What am I quiet about? Anyway, you know what? Let me see. All right, this is my last talking point, and then I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and just freestyle the rest of the life after I get to this talking point. But look, this is more of a this guy isn't like a mainstream name like that, but I think he's he's interesting. Hold on, where's screen share at? Where's the screen share option? So the screen share option is right here. Look. So look right here. So you guys see it, my main man, Abel Mendoza. Abel Mendoza, the march to 50-0 is continuing, guys. Floyd Mayweather watch out because apparently Abel Mendoza will in fact be fighting September 19th in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So shout out to Abel Mendoza. I've seen him. I saw Abel back in March at the Tank Roach fight, and I seen him numerous times. He goes to a lot of these big fight press conferences and stuff, and he just goes and he's networking and talking to these people and whatnot, and he's always telling everybody, he's like, these guys don't give me an opportunity. These guys don't want to give me an opportunity because he's 43-0, but he's literally fought nobody. But you know what's crazy about Abel Mendoza, guys? Abel Mendoza actually has a win in the amateurs over Lamont Roach. Yes, it's crazy. So he always looks around and says that if Lamont Roach wants to get his revenge back, he'll give him an opportunity. So look, man. He's interesting. I'll tell you this, but Abel is very intriguing because, again, he's American. He's 42-0 with 31 knockouts, which on paper looks good. But when you check under the hood and you look at who he's fought, he hasn't really fought, anybody worth a damn. Look at the records. I mean, look, he hasn't fought anybody worth a damn. You guys see the record. You tell me, am I off base here? Are there any names? Are there any people that Abel has fought that you guys would say no, BT? That guy was good. Now you guys know about Francisco Castillo. Was this guy any good? The only name I know on his resume for me is Herman Miraz. He fought Herman Miraz, who's like an infamous journeyman. Herman Miraz has had like 130 fights. Herman Miraz actually took Gervonta Davis the distance back when he was a prospect. And he gets used for a lot of opponents in all kinds of weight classes. So, and that's Abel's most impressive win. So it's very possible, guys. Abel Mendoza, if he stays on this trajectory, it's very possible that he could pass Floyd Mayweather. He could actually get to 51-0 without fighting anybody, and that'd be crazy. Now, it's funny because when I interviewed Abel Mendoza for the first time last summer, he came in my interview saying that these guys don't, these promoters don't give him an opportunity, right? Now, I won't say who. I won't name the promoter. I won't name the matchmaker. I won't name the promotional company. But I had somebody contact me and said, BT, this guy is lying. We offered him such and such for this amount of money. Like he was giving me exact like names and dates and terms and all kinds of stuff. And he keeps turning it down because he just wants to fight, the guys that are 7-figure fighters when he's not even anywhere near there. So anyway, that's my last talking point. Abel Mendoza is fighting again. He's going for 43-0. And I find it interesting because it's like, man, he somehow, some way he's crafted a career where he's undefeated and he's got 40-something fights. And look, you see it. He's Floyd. You better watch out, Floyd. Abel Mendoza's coming for you, champ. He's coming. But yeah. Anyway, that will conclude my talking points for this live. So, we got we're like an hour and 10 minutes in on True School After Dark. So I normally keep it at about 2 hours. So for like the next 50 minutes, y'all go ahead and you run it. You go ahead and you run it. You ask whatever you want, and I will do my best to answer to the best of my ability. So he says, BT, put some respect on Abel's name. I like Abel Mendoza. Abel Mendoza doesn't have money like that. Like he doesn't have like a bunch of investment from promoters. And so look, he's fighting. He's staying busy, until someone until he gets an opportunity that he feels is to his liking, then fine. Do what you got to do. But when he does step up to the plate, he has to go ahead and he's gonna have to go ahead and prove that he is what he says he is. Because a lot of these fighters, I've seen it over the years. I've seen it many times. I remember there was a guy. Who was he talking about? Who was this dude in my chat talking about? He said Japan and the Philippines are located in the Pacific. And what did he say about fan bases? I don't know what he's talking about. Okay. He said raw or rubber. Come on, man. RAW with the right one. But a wise man once told me sometimes you got to go through a couple of the wrong ones to find the right one. So but that's neither here nor there. What is this dude talking about? LOL, y'all must have just got internet over there. Y'all been way more obnoxious than Mexican fans lately. Who are you talking about? They're going on racial tangents. I don't got time for that. I don't care about boxing fans and their fake racial superiority that they like to get into, man. I don't give a fuck with none of that shit. So y'all have fun with that. Do you have any thoughts on the Australia card with Nikita Tszyu, Michael Zarafa, and Brock Jarvis? I like all those brothers, and I hope they do good. I haven't really looked into it. I do know that there was a card coming up soon. Nikita Tszyu is a very, very fun fighter domestically. He has a very come forward, fan friendly style. So it'll be good to see what he can do. And then as far as Zarafa, his level has been proven in boxing multiple times already. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know who he's fighting. I don't know like what the implications are of his fight. But good to see him in action, I guess. And then Brock Jarvis. I mean, I've never been high on Brock. I knew Keith was gonna beat the brakes off Brock. So I guess optimistically speaking, none of those guys are winning a world title, but it's good to see them pursuing their dreams. What deal did I hear about? Supposedly, according to Rick Glazer, you can take that at however you want to take it. But Rick Glazer reportedly said that Top Rank is about to finalize a deal with a network that has never worked in boxing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And they said that the deal is going to have the Top Rank have one show a month, but then but Top Rank's going to be able to put other fighters on other cards and things like that. So it sounds like a very flexible, deal. Have I made a video about the PBC 16-year-old prospect? No, I have not. Boots and Abel Mendoza have similar resumes. Well, I won't say that. I won't say that. No. Boots don't got a good resume like that, a great resume like that. But he's fought Stanionis. He fought Lipinets. He fought some guys that have won world titles, challenge world titles. Abel Mendoza hasn't done none of that. So let's not get carried away. Does Yanquiel Rivera have a chance of beating Sandoval or Yafai at 122 at 112? He's the number one contender for the WBA. Yes, he definitely does. Sandoval is good, and Sandoval is a good, crafty boxer. His power in that particular matchup, I think the bigger puncher is Yanquiel. And as far as Galal, he could definitely beat Galal. Galal is coming off of a very devastating stoppage loss, and Galal still has a bit of an amateur style. So yeah, I would say that he's got a great chance to beat those guys. Do I think that Inoue's fight gets picked up by an American streaming service? Yes. There's like, in my opinion, and I hope I'm right. I hope I'm not wrong about this, but there's zero chance that Naoya Inoue has a fight at this stage of his career that's not shown in America. I know ESPN is not in the fold right now, but he's too important of a fighter commercially. He means too much to boxing, not just in Japan, but on a worldwide scale, to not have an American TV provider or streaming service pick up his fight. So I think in the next, like, 2.5, 3 weeks, we should hear something about Inoue and what's next for him as far as who's showing his fight in America against Merjan. Who should Adrian Broner fight? I don't know. Child support. I don't know. Who should he fight? Who knows? Breaking news: Top Rank is going to Bounce TV, and this is Jason Garcia. Is that confirmed? Is that confirmed? They ain't going to no Bounce TV. Bounce. The report stated that it's a channel that's never been involved in boxing. Bounce TV was with PBC before, so that can't be right. But let's see. Let me check. Doubt it. Let me check. Yeah, I don't see no confirmation on that. So I'm gonna wait. Right now, it's just a rumor that's floating around. That's a fight we all gotta win. Not just Broner. We all gotta win fights against our own demons. Everybody has their own personal demons. For some people, those demons come in the form of alcoholism. Some people, it's gambling. Some people, it's a sex addiction. Some people, it's the need to be validated all the time. I mean, we all got our own personal demons and traumas we got to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So, his fight's no different than our fight. Tubi TV. Now, see, I can see that. I think Tubi TV, they've never dealt with any like big time American promoter, to my knowledge. So I think that's a candidate. Tubi TV, ain't that some shit? Top Rank on Tubi, T on T. Hyro, you commented this like 7 times, bro. I just told you no. I haven't made a video about that guy, and you don't even know his name. So you're not building a case for the PBC prospect. What are my demons? I mean, I live a pretty clean life. Like, I don't drink often. And if I do, it's like only to celebrate things. So I probably drink at the most like once or twice a year. I don't really smoke, other than the occasional like once a year cigar. I don't really smoke. So for me, it's las mujeres, the women. The biggest struggle for most men, the women. Doing the right things. My man B. Romero says, Trayshawn Wiggins versus Quadir Albright. That's a good fight. Quadir's a good fighter. If I'm not mistaken, he's in Philadelphia, right? I've seen him spar like on YouTube. There's a video of him sparring. I think there was a video of him sparring Brian Millman Jr. on YouTube. He's got some talent. Yeah, man. I actually talked to Trayshawn Wiggins today. And you know what's crazy? I didn't realize. I interviewed him today, and I'm gonna post it in the coming days. But I didn't realize. I knew Trayshawn Wiggins fought Hitchens, but the fight's not on YouTube, so I never watched it. And I didn't realize that Trayshawn Wiggins actually dropped Richardson Hitchens. Hitchens came in all careless, and Trayshawn Wiggins hit him with a right hook. He checked him with a right hook and made him run into the ropes. So, yeah, man, he could. They need to give Trayshawn Wiggins an opportunity. Someone said my demons are not going off on the Angel. Yes, that one too. That's another one. The Kenshiro haters, the Angelo haters, the Hergovich haters, the Ian Green haters. Them 4. Yes, sir. Is Angelo Leo Pay good for his fights? Do you consider he made it financially? Not him as a boxer since he's a division champion. I would say since he became champion again, he's definitely getting compensated better. His sacrifices of taking these big pay cuts to fight on Pro Box have paid off. But I think his earning potential still has a lot of room to grow. So I would say he's good, like he's good, but could definitely be better. And I think in the coming fights, things are gonna get better. BT has a sex addiction. Nah, I don't have a sex addiction. I'm just telling you the biggest struggle because I don't drink or smoke. Normally, when people, it's like the biggest vice is either drugs, alcohol, or women, and for some people, it's all of them. I don't like alcohol. That doesn't really entice me. Drugs don't entice me, but I love what did 2 Chainz say? Love bad bitches. That's my fucking problem. And I grew up. Listen, and I grew up in South Florida. So you could imagine the caliber of what I've seen. It's insane. How are the Japanese women? They're very beautiful women. There's beautiful women in all cultures, and we don't discriminate. But Japanese women are awesome. They're not my favorite, but they're awesome. There isn't much Leo haters no more. Most people think that Leo or Espinoza are the best at 126. That is true. I'll tell you this. It's been a lot more peaceful talking about featherweight now as opposed to when he knocked out Venado Lopez and I was going crazy on here. Yeah, a lot of people I've been seeing are saying that he's the best. So that makes me happy, and I want to prove those people right. I'm more excited to prove those people right than to prove the naysayers wrong. So yeah, that's been real cool. Have you done some stupid stuff on the internet? What do you define as stupid? I'm a pretty disciplined guy. Like I don't really get myself into too much trouble. I like literally, guys. My whole life is boxing, especially now. Like I don't really got much time for things that don't have to do with boxing. So I stay pretty busy. My man Jazz says I was watching Leo versus Venado, and it didn't even look like Leo put too much effort into his hook. Is he just strong, or was the punch perfectly timed in the right spot? It's both. He trained very hard for that fight. He was really dialed in for that fight. Like he's dialed in for all of his fights, but for that fight, I feel like I saw it. I was there for pretty much the whole camp. He went to a whole other level. So I think he gave he did a great job the whole fight of hitting Venado all around the body and just draining him round by round after round. And I think Venado made a very big mistake, and it was perfectly timed shot. So timing always is a big thing in boxing. If you can land something on the chin and time it very well, you could always hurt your opponent, even if you're not known as a big puncher. Leo versus Shushu is the fight to make in 2026. I would love to see it. I think that's a great fight for American boxing. True School is on some Shannon Sharp shit. No, not yet, champ. I don't got the money. I don't got the money to be on some Shannon Sharp shit. Maybe in 5 years. Maybe like in 5 years I could be on some Shannon Sharp shit. But right now, no. When I'm no Shannon Sharp shit with Las Mujeres. We live a clean, disciplined lifestyle. Can you play some Nick Hustles? You can't get copyright if he ain't signed to a label. I'm not gonna do that, champ. I'm not gonna take the risk. Who do I got in their prime? Diego Corrales or Shakur Stevenson? Oh my God, that's a great fight. Man, Shakur ain't fought. Shakur ain't been hit by nobody like Diego Corrales. That's a good one. Man, I don't know. Let me think about that one. When will you and Sean Tatel make content again? Y'all gotta ask him that. I've told Sean. I told Sean that with this month being slow, that I want to make some content. He's kind of been dragging his feet this month. With me. I know he does stuff with Raheem, but y'all ask him. I'm a yes man. Whenever Sean asks me to do content, I never tell him no. I always tell him yes. So he hasn't really he's mentioned it, but he hasn't really reached out to me. So it is what it is. Castillo versus Shakur. Shakur. Shakur by decision. Corrales, man, bro, that's tough. Fuck, that's tough. I think Diego could beat Shakur, honestly. I think Diego Corrales could beat Shakur. Because I saw having a hard time with Zepeda, with the volume and stuff. And I know Castillo has the volume too, but one thing about Corrales, yo, he's really punching like that. And he's gonna be in your chest. And he's rangy. So I don't know, man. I think Diego could have beat Shakur. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would have been a great fight. Shakur versus Duran. Yeah, he's been a bit, I don't want to speak for him, but I just know that he's been a bit distraught about boxing recently. So maybe that's why. But yeah, I mean, in the coming, I'm sure soon. I know for Canelo Crawford, we're gonna have some things cooking up. Because that's a fight I know me and him spoken about a lot, and yeah. So at some point, we'll start doing stuff with Sean again. But shout out to everybody here rocking with your boy BT. It's the untouchable True School Sports Empire, True School After Dark. Everybody's favorite late night boxing program. We're here, giving you all that world class content. I don't know if y'all can see. The reason why I was about 10 minutes later than usual today is because I had to get some coffee. For these lives these days, I'm a nighttime person, but it's becoming a tradition where I gotta have my coffee right before I come on the live. And we didn't have no coffee, so I had to make some coffee before the live. So, these lives being powered to you guys by this coffee. So, shout out to coffee. Do I think Goodman should stay at 26 or move back down? If he stays, save 2 good opponents for him. Elijah Pierce and Omar Trinidad. I think those are both good fights for Sam Goodman, and I think those are both very winnable fights for Sam Goodman. But if not those guys, if I got to give you somebody a little bit higher, how about Sam Goodman versus Makita Nakano? The best featherweight from Japan. I like that fight. Nakano is probably one of the most devastating punchers in this weight class, but he's like a very north-south straight line fighter. Sam Goodman got a lot of diversity in his attack, so I would love that fight. I would say, you know what? If he's gonna stay at featherweight, give me Sam Goodman versus Makita Nakano. Matias versus Pitbull, Cinco de Mayo, as a Canelo co-main event. Matias Pitbull is one of them fights, guy. That I think these promoters are really doing the sport a disservice by not trying to explore the possibility of that fight. Who knows? Maybe they have behind closed doors, but it just doesn't feel like that's a fight that the boxing industry is really pushing for, and it makes no sense because you're talking about, Mexico versus Puerto Rico, 2 all-action fighters, two of like the most the top 10 pound for pound most entertaining fighters in boxing. Like remember back when Jim Lampley had the Gotti list where he would rank the most entertaining fighters. If the Gotti list was still a thing in boxing right now, both these guys would be on it. Goodman Quayle was a good fight. I like that fight. Why not? Goodman Quayle, that's a good one. There's all kinds of options for Sam Goodman at featherweight. Personally though, for Sam, I would like to see Sam go back to 122. I feel like at 122, he could definitely win a world title. What's the most suspicious story you heard about a fighter in PEDs? You heard, but they haven't popped. I don't want to say no names because I don't want to get in no trouble. I've heard about all kinds of fighters being on steroids, big names too, but I keep these things to myself. I don't even want to say that promotional company because if I say that promotional company, you guys are gonna know who I'm talking about. So all I'll say is that there was a particular fighter who is a draw, like he's a pay-per-view star, and I heard for a certain fight that he tested positive for steroids, and that the reason that it wasn't reported to the media is because this particular promotional company has their fighters sign non-disclosure agreements to where if anything happens, it can't be talked about in the public. So you guys can take your guesses as to who it is, but it's a guy that's a draw. Do you think PBC fighters are world-class fighters? Yeah. I mean, Gary, your boy's a world-class fighter. You always say I hate on Gary Anton Russell, but he's world-class. There's world-class fighters for all promotional companies. There's, Matchroom has world-class guys. PBC has world-class guys. ProBox has world-class guys. Everyone has world-class guys. Is PBC still in business? Yes, they are. They don't really do a whole lot of shows. They don't really do a whole lot of shows, but when they do shows, they make them count. They're big events. As Hiro would say, PBC is about quality, not quantity. So you can make it that what you will. Shout out to my boy Al the Pow checking in. He says, "What to do? What did I miss? What's Top Rank going with? Is it time to cut the ESPN app?" Yes, definitely cut the ESPN app if you just have it for boxing, because there's not going to be no boxing on ESPN from Top Rank. What was reported earlier is that Top Rank is supposedly going to finalize a TV deal with a network, an unnamed network that has never been involved in the sport of boxing. And that network is going to allow them to have one show per month to keep their fighters busy. And Top Rank will outsource some of their fighters to other promotional companies while they try to enhance their situation. So, yeah. I'm still paying for Amazon Video just because PBC and they don't do shit. Yeah, I really feel bad for the paying customers of boxing, because it's like, these promotional these streaming apps like DAZN, Amazon Prime, they on some bullshit. Like, especially like DAZN, because you guys can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I heard about DAZN, I heard DAZN, they're not charging pay-per-views for certain fights, but they jacked up the subscription price for the year. So I don't like, if that's true, I don't like that. Yeah, a lot of these guys are on PEDs, and I can't even get mad at them. I can't get mad at fighters for being on steroids like that, because boxing is not serious about steroids and drug testing and organization of drug testing. So it's disgusting. It's terrible for the sport, but it is what it is. As long as the fighters that I know personally and I care about personally don't get hurt because some dude's on steroids, I'm good. Everton lost to Leeds today. Did the season start already? I mean, I know the season will start soon. I know Everton got Jack Grealish recently. They got Jack Grealish. I'm gonna tune into a couple of games this year, but I don't have it in me to wake up to watch Everton anymore, because they don't have a striker. Till Everton gets to like an actual striker, I just can't watch Everton like that unless they play in the afternoon. Espinoza versus Prince Nassim. That's a great question. I think Prince Nassim would have drilled. I think he would have drilled Espinoza. You saw when Rabasi hit Espinoza in the first fight. Yo, people clown Prince Nassim because of the Barrera fight, but excluding Barrera, he drilled pretty much everybody he fought in his career, damn near. He was the real deal. Like that guy was the truth. That's what I thought. I thought it was the first game of the season, because a lot of my friends that support other teams here in America, they were posting about their team, so I knew the season started soon. So yeah, hopefully Everton does better this year, because Everton's been not even like competitive. Like we're celebrating surviving, which is so terrible. I asked because I personally noticed that the production of quality of Netflix, Amazon, PBC Prime is atrocious. DAZN is Yeah, I mean DAZN is terrible. I mean, shout out to everybody that works for DAZN. I have friends that are employees for DAZN. Like, so I got there's some good people at DAZN, but production wise, they're not cutting it, from the commentary team to the production team. Yeah, man. I am Mexico says, do I watch football? Yeah. I mean, I don't watch like I used to as much, because I have less time to watch other sports. I'm so involved with boxing, with content, and now working with Angelo, and then now I'm working with other fighters too, advising them and shit like that. So I don't really got like time like I used to. But Yeah, I'm a big fan of Everton. They're terrible. They've been terrible for like years now, but yeah, yeah. I like Premier League. Everton and Inter Miami because I gotta support South Florida, so Everton and Inter Miami. Those would be the two clubs for me. Do you think we're out of the era of slow big heavyweights that gas quickly, and now in the era where there's faster and have better athleticism along with power? I think you have both. I feel like you have your guys like Moses, Joseph Parker, Usyk, those heavyweights that have the build and the frame that resemble the guys of yesteryear. But then you have your big lumbering guys. You have your guys like Jalalov and Dubois. So I think you actually have the most well balanced. Like not the talent isn't what it used to be, but in terms of the build and the frame of these heavyweights, it's about as balanced as it's ever been. Are you an Everton fan because of Tony Bellew? Um, Tony Bellew played a small role because I remember when he fought Makabu at Goodison Park and that was a good fight. But no, I'm an Everton fan because like 10 years ago, I I had a roommate. I had a Nigerian roommate, and he was a big fan of Arsenal, and he used to watch Arsenal play all the time. And I remember there was one particular afternoon where in 2016 where Everton played Arsenal. Everton won, and they played at Goodison Park, and I just like how Goodison Park looked and the fans, and they had Lukaku at the time, who was like one of the best strikers in the league, and I like Lukaku a lot. And then Everton does have a lot of connections to boxing, you mentioned Bellew. There was the Makabu fight at Goodison Park, and then there's this picture of Muhammad Ali in Liverpool. I guess he was training for the Harry Cooper fight, and Everton was in the FA Cup. And there's a picture of Muhammad Ali shadow boxing, and then there's Everton supporters with these signs that say Everton for the cup. And I used to have this hoodie. It was Muhammad Ali. I used to have this hoodie. It was that picture. It was Muhammad Ali shadow boxing, and then it was a picture of the Everton supporters that says Everton for the cup. So yeah. Everton wasted a lot of money in the past. Manager jumped ship, and Ancelotti ran to Real Madrid, and was they had Ancelotti, they had Rafa Benitez, Marco Silva, Ronald Koeman, what's his name, Sean Allardyce, Sam Allardyce, Sam Dyche, Frank Lampard, and now they got David Moyes again. So shout out to the Blues. He said, "You living the dream, brother. Following boxing and traveling, bro. Good luck in all your endeavors." Thank you, man. I've taken a step back from traveling. I'm not really trying to do too much traveling the rest of the year. But yeah, inevitably, I'm gonna have to start traveling again. But right now, I'm enjoying my life being boring and simple because when things start revving up and I gotta travel, there's not really much time for anything. Everton is a hard team to beat, especially under Moyes. We'll see. We'll see what kind of home field advantage they have in the new stadium this year. But yeah, traditionally when they play at home at Goodison Park, the fans like right on top of you, and they always play really well at home. So we'll see. The Everton Red Triangle, yeah, that's one of the most that's like the most famous gym in Liverpool from what I've seen. But Peter McGrail trains there. Nick Ball I think trains there. I think Bellew might have spent some time there. Yeah, it's a known gym. You need to come to the UK and watch. I want to. I mean, I went to the UK once in 2019, but I didn't get a chance to go to any Premier League games. So the next time I come to the UK, whenever that is, um, I will definitely be doing that. I support Liverpool personally. The only boxer I know that supports them is Nick Ball. Well, a lot of the Scouts boxers they support Liverpool, like Anthony Fowler, Liverpool fan, Liam Smith, Liverpool fan. Um, Basically all the Callum Smith, Liverpool fan, Paul Smith, Liverpool fan. The only Everton fans I know in boxing were Bellew and Peter McGrail. So yeah, there's that. The boxing fans are a microcosm of football fans. Yeah, like the atmosphere that we get in the UK British fights for boxing is basically how it is in the Premier League. Will Bakram ever get a big fight? I don't know, man. I would like to say yes, but I don't know. These guys don't want to fight him. They really don't. As long as he has the IBF, everyone will avoid him because there's no money in fighting him, and you're gonna take some punishment. But I'm sorry, man. Like these guys that haven't won a world title before, I don't got no respect. If you've never been a world champion, right? If you've never been a world champion, you shouldn't be turning down world title fights because even if you don't make a lot of money off that world title fight, if you win the world title, you go into another tax bracket. So I feel like if there's a higher risk, low reward champion in the division and you don't fight them, it's a reflection upon your lack of confidence. That's how I feel. Man, I've sent Top Rank messages before. I told him to bring Foster, Lindolfo Delgado. A lot of people here from his part of Mexico, Milneki, because he lives from the Houston area. I told them to bring them to H-Town. Yeah, there's a lot of cities in America, like Chicago. You mentioned H-Town. There's a lot of cities in boxing that should get more big fights, and they don't because these promoters, man. Like, I'm not trying to talk down on nobody, but like they can be very lazy. They just want to fight in Vegas. They just want to fight in California. They've relegated boxing to a West Coast sport, and there's a lot of great markets on the East Coast, in the Midwest, that would really, liven up boxing in America. I'm hoping Golden Boy continues this trend of going to Chicago. I feel like Chicago is one of the best fight towns in America and needs to have more fights there. And not to mention, Chicago is one of the most culturally diverse areas of America. Chicago has a pretty big and sizable Mexican population, particularly in the Cicero and Berwyn areas of Chicago. You got a lot of Puerto Ricans in Chicago because of the Humboldt Park, which is a big Puerto Rican community. You got a lot of Ukrainians in Chicago. You got hella black people in Chicago. So it's like you got a lot of different cultures. From the Europeans to the Latin Americans to everything. Shout out to my guy, Team Al Heyman, with the $2 super chat. Thank you for your contributions. He says, do you think Bakram could challenge Janibek at 160? 1,000%. I think he would give Janibek a whole lot of points. I think Bakram might mess around and beat Janibek because, Janibek is not like he's having a hard time making 160. So he might be weight drained. And Bakram Murtazaliev is the wrong fighter to be weight drained against. So I would love to see that. I feel like I would have loved to have seen Shakur, box in the Houston market because he got. I'm surprised with the James Prince connection. Shakur Stevenson didn't do anything. It's very interesting to me actually that was never anything that was ever talked about or explored. There's only one Ricky Hatton. One Ricky Hatton. Walking along, singing this song, walking in Hatton Wonderland. I used to love hearing that. I remember one time when I was in Japan, I was by myself one time, and I was just laying down. I was laying down, just contemplating what I was gonna do for the next day. And for some reason, in the middle of me sitting down and relaxing, all of a sudden that's what I heard. I heard in my head. I heard, "There's only one Ricky Hatton." Every now and then, these chants from the Brits, they enter my mind. So yeah, Ricky Hatton, man, what a legend! What a legend! That dude brought what was it, 10,000 Brits when he fought Mayweather. Is Shakur versus Teofimo Lopez legit for February? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it myself, but when it comes to those guys, like the Shakurs and your Teofimos, I always say no. I don't believe anything. I don't believe anything when it comes to those guys fighting. And most of the time, I'm right. So, how many pay-per-view buys does Virgil Ortiz versus Xander Zayas make if it happens, even though pay-per-view is the K-Man model? 60,000 at best. No more, no less. 60,000. And I might be giving these guys too much credit. I'm probably giving them too much credit. What about the Seattle, Portland area? There's no fights that happen in these areas. That's what I'm saying. I'm sure there's plenty of markets that I haven't even thought about in boxing. Major cities in America that don't get the fights. Like they're not getting the fights, you know? So I feel like, boxing South Florida, like where I'm from, the Miami area, we have a lot of great venues, like the Emron Bank Arena where the Florida Panthers play. Great venue, The what do they call it now? The Kaseya Center? Well, I call it the American Airlines Arena. Where the Heat play, great venue, right? If you want to have a smaller arena, you have the Bank United Center where the Miami Hurricanes college basketball team plays. Like, there's so many venues in South Florida for small fights, mid fights, and big fights, and it's another one doesn't get explored like it should. So I want to go to Los Mochis next month to watch Sugar Nunez's homecoming. Listen, I would say if you can go, then go, man. That's one thing I want to do. I've never been to Mexico for a fight. I've never gone to Mexico, period. I want to go to Mexico. I love Mexican women, but I've never been to Mexico. So, yeah, go and do your thing, man. Do you think TKO boxing will succeed? I think TKO boxing will be good for like the fighters that aren't established, or maybe some of these fighters that are really good that get overlooked and won't get opportunities. So like, I use the welterweight division as an example. So like, especially these Eastern European fighters. So your guys like Daniel Dubios, Vadim Musayev, these higher risk, lower reward guys, they'll go to TKO, they'll get paid, they'll stay active, good for them. But long term, no. I've always told you guys, if you go back and you listen to any of my videos about Turkey and Dana White, I've always been adamant saying that I don't think that this is going to be a long-term thing. I think eventually the Saudis, I think the Saudis will eventually stop investing in boxing. Turkey will pack up his stuff and go, and that'll be that. But for now, it's a moment in time, and just enjoy the moment in time and ride the wave for as long as it lasts. But no, I don't. My man Raw Dog says, "I love living in SoCal. I've seen so many great fights here and in Vegas." I mean, listen, if you're on the West Coast, if you live in Vegas, if you live in Southern California, it's great because you guys get a lot of the fights. But for people in the rest of America, in the South and the Northeast, it gets very annoying because we like every now and then, it'd be nice to get a big fight closer to where we live. We don't get them, so it is what it is. Turkey owns. Turkey, hold on. Turkey bought a team in La Liga. I didn't know that. I know there was talks about him buying a soccer team. He bought he bought Almeria. See, I didn't even know that. That's crazy. Callum Walsh is a disaster waiting to happen, in my opinion. I think Dana is banking everything on him until that train derails. He's a good little fighter. He's okay. He's a strong kid. The best thing about Callum Walsh is that he sells tickets. I don't think he's a special fighter. Truth be told, he kind of sucks. Like he's strong. He's a southpaw, but I don't think he's anything special. Like for the hype that they give him, he ain't anything special. Yeah, I know. I know you. I know he owned a soccer team. Doesn't Turkey own Doesn't he own one of the Saudi teams? Or am I getting Turkey's ownership with Almeria mixed up with the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo plays for what is it, Al Nassr? A lot of the American commissions are not interested in health and safety whatsoever. That's true, but there are some, like the Florida commission's always been pretty good. Like, from my experience, the Florida commission has been solid. I've been to many of his fights, but he's so average. Him versus Vargas is a pick'em. Well, you said low key. To me, that's a clear pick'em fight because I look at Vargas and Callum Walsh on the same level. Callum Walsh may have more hype because he's got Dana White and this big Irish fan base, and he's headlined some fights at the Garden, but he ain't nothing special. And Vargas, he's the son of Fernando Vargas, but he's not he's okay. He's not anything special either. So it's two guys that can punch a little bit. Big strong kid at 54, taking each other on. So I don't really see how I don't see how either is significantly better. I don't see a clear separation. Yes. See, that's the fight. I'm so glad you said that, Joel. That's the fight that I've said is a big fight for Xander. I feel like, any protection that goes on from Callum Walsh and any protection that goes on for Xander is because they're gonna build for that fight right there. That's the fight they're gonna build towards right there. Because if they can both stay undefeated and it becomes a possibility to make, that is going to be one of the biggest fights that can be made in boxing from a ticket selling standpoint, from a marketing standpoint. You're talking about, Puerto Rico versus Ireland, New York City, two young, strong 54-pounders. I think that's a future big fight. Am I trying to baby step Xander? I'm not doing anything. I don't manage Xander. I don't advise that. I don't even know Xander like that. I've seen him in South Florida when I go to certain gyms, but I don't even know Xander like that. I didn't do. Listen, he became champion before Virgil did. So clearly, something right was done along the way. He was involved with the restructuring of the Sire League. Okay, that's what I thought. I never watched the middleweight Vargas fight before. Do they have world champion potential? No. Fernando Jr. doesn't have potential, and Amado Vargas doesn't have world championship potential either. But I will say this though. For some reason, I'm not gonna say who it was, but I've seen Amado Vargas spar 3 times in person, and I saw him spar 3 times in person at Bones Adams Boxing Gym, probably one of the best boxing gyms in the world. I was down there a couple of times with my boy Eric Lanzas Jr., the 140-pounder, good fighter, friend of mine. And I saw him spar a couple guys, and he would, for some reason, I must always come on the right day, because I swear to God, whenever I see Amado Vargas spar, he beats the brakes off people. And I be telling everybody, I'm like, damn, like, he might be the best one. If we're just basing it on when I see him spar, he might be the best one. He in there looking like Julio Cesar Chavez when I watch him spar, but then I watch him actually fight, and he's not like that. But his sparring made me. He's like the only fighter that I've seen in person that's made me a fan because of the sparring. I swear my life. I think Xander is decent, but that's his highest level. He hasn't progressed in 2022, and it's evident he ain't holding that title for long. I've been to all his fights, but his run has been poor. What's been poor about it? He's taken gradual steps up, and he hasn't had a controversial fight. So I mean, I'm gonna respectfully disagree. He's only 22 years old, so there's still more growth to be had there. And I think he's got the best manager in boxing. So if you think he's gonna have a misstep because of his management, think again. I think I'm gonna say Xander. If he'll lose at some point in his career, but I'm willing to wager before Xander Zayas loses a fight, he will make at least 3 world title defenses. He will defend it at least 3 times successfully. Shout out to my man Team Alhammond with the super chat. He says Rolly versus Barrios a 50-50 for the WBA WBC Unified title. Nah, they're not gonna fight. They could fight, theoretically. They could fight, but I don't think they're gonna fight. I think it's more likely to see Rolly versus Pacquiao, or Pacquiao versus Tank, than that fight. Any news on Lorenzo Medina? He just fought like a month ago. He fought a month ago. He had been off for about a year because he had some injuries that he was dealing with, and he had a baby as well. So that, took some time off because of that as well. But he's back at it. He got a win last month. He's 13-0 now, and I saw that he's been training. He's been doing his sprints. So we shall see. How many of those 6 defenses will be against a top 10 opponent? Two. I think I'm saying three. I'm saying it'll be three defenses, and I'll say two of them. I'll say two of them will be against top 10 guys. One will probably be against somebody who's trash in the lower part of the top 15. But yeah. I'm alluding more to the route. Evidently, he took the WBO. I think it's obvious he knows stylistically that the other guys at 154 and 160 got him. That come to Puerto Rico message to Virgil was bad. Why is it bad? He's a champion. I don't think it was bad. He is a champion. In that situation, he has the leverage to say that because he's a champion. Virgil is not the champion, and they're trying like, hear me out. And I feel like I've been talking about this for a week already. I'm kind of tired of talking about it, but boxing is so slow. There's nothing else to talk about. But really and truthfully, like Xander Zayas, like with him, he's 22. He can take his time. These guys are 27, 28, 29 in the middle of their careers. So they got to fight now. Virgil big time Xander when the fight was offered to Xander when Xander didn't have belt. Virgil big timed him and said, "I have bigger fish to fry." So now the tables have turned, and now you got Oscar and the Golden Boy trying to dictate terms to the champion. That's just not how it goes. Like, unless you're Inoue, unless you're Canelo, unless you're Anthony Joshua, you can't be a non-champion and dictate terms to the champion because you don't have the leverage to do that. So and Virgil is good. I like him. He's probably one of my favorite fighters in boxing, but he's not in that position right now. So look, if Virgil and Golden Boy are as confident as they say, just take the fight in Puerto Rico, beat the shit out of Xander since everyone thinks it's so easy, which I'm gonna warn you guys now it's not. And that's it. You beat him, you're a champion. Now you got leverage. Now you can dictate things. You can tell dudes come to Texas, come to Dallas, come to Fort Worth. Nobody in 154 is complete trash. Upsets can arise. What I will say is Zayas is not overlooking nobody. Xander is super consistent. I don't think he's like a 10 in any category, but I think he's an 8 damn near around the whole board. I think he'd fight. I think Lorenzo Medina would fight Mosley Tamo, but objectively speaking, and I love Lorenzo. I know Lorenzo since he was a kid. So there's one fight I could be biased for, it's him. But he's not ready for that level yet. He's got a lot of work to do, conditioning wise. He needs more experience. He's not there yet. But listen, you give it a couple of years, maybe he emerges as the guy in American heavyweight boxing, and it could be a possibility. But right now, nah, man. Hi BT, I know this is an unrelated question, but who is your favorite character on Hajime no Ippo? Listen, man, shout out to Hajime no Ippo. I was just watching Hajime no Ippo like 2 days ago. My favorite character I would say is, it's a good question. There's a lot of them. I would say my favorite character is probably, well, probably Ippo. I like Ippo. I know he's the main character, but Ippo. Who was the Russian character? Who was the Russian character that they made after that one boxer that boxed in Japan who was Russian? Yuri something. Yuri. I forgot. Was it Vorg? Was it Vorg? The Russian one. The Russian character is my favorite one. Vorg. Yeah, Vorg. Vorg is my favorite character. Vorg, Ippo, and Takamura. Those three. Xander is acting like he's the face of boxing. Canelo won 4 division titles before he went back to Mexico. Zayas basically beat Matthew Hatton. Nah, man. Listen, Jorge Garcia Perez was better than Matthew Hatton. I'm sorry. As far as, he's not acting like he's acting like it's a negotiation. He's acting like he is the champion, which he is. So, listen, man, just go ahead and go to Puerto Rico. I don't see what the big deal is. Go to Puerto Rico. Beat the shit out of him. Lorenzo is good, but I find it interesting that he left Jake Paul to join Teofimo, and sadly, his first loss was heartbreaking to see. I think he's going to pursue Richard Torres. He's made that his main target. Lorenzo left Jake Paul. Well, Lorenzo really wasn't, like, he wasn't really with Jake Paul. He fought one of his cards, but he wasn't ever officially signed to Jake Paul. He just fought on one of the cards. And as far as him joining Teofimo, what is it to join? Takeover Promotions? He's not with Takeover Promotions. Lorenzo doesn't have a promoter. He's managed by Ryan Rickey. Ryan Rickey has him fighting on different cards. There's been discussions to my knowledge, there's been discussions about promotional deals. I know, from what I know, I believe in 2023 there was a discussion about him signing with Top Rank, but nothing ever came of it. But other than that, he's not signed anybody. And by the way, yeah, he hasn't lost yet. Yeah, he hasn't lost an actual fight. Zayas has a fan base and can sell in June in New York and Puerto Rico in December. If you're a fighter, can't do that, then that is not his problem. So I'm saying, man, they want to hate on the young kid. They want to hate on the young Puerto Rican from South Florida, and I'm not hearing it. Like, dude said yes 2 times. He said yes as a contender. He said yes as a champion. How many times you gotta say yes? Yes, si, oui, hi. Like, you want to say it in English, Spanish, French, Japanese? How you want him to say it? Like, Boots is Boo Boo 2.0, and Zayas is stop it, bro, stop it. He's a better fighter than Belanga. He never. I actually think he's part of Takeover Promotions. I think he started rubbing them in 2023, 2024. I count that fight recently as a loss, respectfully. Are you talking about his fight on Team Combat League? You count those fights? I mean, I know he got what he got. Did he get stopped or I know he got dropped, but did he get stopped in that fight? I don't count Team Combat League losses against anybody. Whether that's not actual boxing. That's one round fighting. That's like saying that's the equivalent of like sparring. When you can get dropped in sparring by anybody. Is that a loss? No, it's not. As far as him representing Takeover Promotions, they're both like they both come like they know each other. Tio knew Lorenzo when he was a kid the same way I knew Lorenzo when he was a kid. They're both products of the Daily Pound, the South Florida boxing community. So that's what they know each other. But I'm telling you, he was never signed to Takeover Promotions. That was Takeover Promotions was never even a thing. They don't do cards. They don't have no network. That's just these fighters with their little promoter's license. Those are just tax write-offs. None of these fighters are actually promoters. He may have worn a shirt to support his friend, but that doesn't mean he was signed to them. I'm telling you guys, his manager is Ryan Rickey. I know his manager. I know his trainer. Like, bro, like he hasn't been no promoter. But if you want to count it. But I'm just telling you what the deal is. Zayas has a fan base. Why didn't he headline MSG for Puerto Rican Day 2024 instead of the 5,600 seat Hulu Theater? Top Rank probably didn't feel he was ready. But I think now that he's champion, they might move him differently. Let's see. The son of soul, Xander from Florida. That's right, champ. Sunrise, Florida, stand up. Plantation High School, stand up. Yes, sir. That's where he's from. That's where he grew up. Now he was with Takeover Promotions because Lonnie Thompson literally was in an interview saying, "I'm with Takeover Promotions. I'm with Teofimo, this, that, and the third." He was with Takeover Promotions, not Lorenzo. Zayas headline in a 3,200 seat Dodge City Center in Florida. Well, actually, no, he didn't headline. He didn't headline there. He was actually the co-main event. He fought Jorge Fortea from Spain there, and the headlining fight was actually Espinoza versus Robesi, but the majority of the crowd was there for Robesi and Xander. So he actually didn't headline that card. Oh, okay, I understand. I remember though, Takeover Promotions was gonna have a huge card of Honduras, and the whole thing went nowhere. I hope it can turn into a legit boxing brand. Maybe it can one day. I won't ever say that it can't. But like most of these fighters that have their promoters license or promotional companies, they're not really promoters. They just use it as a tax write-off for their finances, and they like to have the logo on the card on the card. But you don't really see like Earl Spence. You don't see Man Down Promotions put in purse bids. You don't see Takeover Promotions put in purse bids. Unless they actually put in purse bids and put their own money up and are willing to lose their own money for the fight, then they're not promoters. That's why I respect Lamont Roach, because Lamont Roach and his dad, they have no excuse promotions. And when Lamont Roach was getting ready to fight Hector Garcia, that fight went to purse bid, and they actually put in a purse bid and was trying to bid against TGB Promotions, and they actually drove up the bid and the price for their fight because of that. And yeah, and so he put his money where his mouth is. So I can say Lamont Roach is a promoter, but these other guys are not a promoter. Do I think Lonnie B. Thompson can beat Resendiz? I mean, Lonnie B doesn't box. Like, he hasn't fought in forever. He was supposed to fight on a pro box show. I can't remember against who, but he pulled out. Listen, Lonnie's old. Lonnie's aged out. And that's what it is. So I just could he beat Resendiz? He had to fight, and he doesn't fight no more. Johnny Beck isn't Russian. Maybe he's part Russian, but no, Johnny Beck is from Kazakhstan, which is not the same thing. I know maybe some of the American viewers, some of you guys may think that that's the same thing. No, it's not. Like, Russia is Eastern Europe. Kazakhstan is Central Asia. That's why it looks a little like his eyes look a certain way. That's why a lot of the Uzbeks and the Kazakhstans, their eyes kind of look Asian. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not no big Danny Garcia fan. Danny Garcia is a promoter. Like, DSG Promotions is real. They put on cards at the 2300 arena. They they put on cards. Like, he had Kermel Moten fight on one of his shows. He's a promoter. Kazakhstan used to be part of the USSR. Okay, well then technically, you could say he's a Russian fighter if you want to go by that. But I'm just going off of how the world has been structured since I've been alive. When I was alive, since I've been alive, there was no USSR. BT, what do you think of Olesius Iglesias versus Shishkin on December 4th to become mandatory? It's a good fight. It's a fight that I need to make a video about because it's actually one of the better matches on the schedule. I really feel like Vladimir Shishkin deserved the nod in the William Skull fight and didn't get it because he was the B-side fighter. Skull had the fight with his promoters, Argon Sports. Was it in Germany? Wherever the hell his promoters are from, that's where it was. So you could look at him as an uncrowned champion, but no, that's a good fight. Shishkin is a solid fighter, good puncher, has really solid fundamentals. Iglesias is kind of like the new Dave Morrell, the next aggressive southpaw Cuban at 168. So yes, it's a hell of a fight, man. Oh, okay, then it might be Johnny Beck. Yeah, so guys, look, I think on that we see. I'm gonna go like 10 more minutes. But I'm starting to get a little tired. I'm gonna go 10 more minutes, and then we're gonna wrap it up because it's almost 12:30. But I showed up a little late, so I'll stay a little late. Make sure y'all smash that like button. Definitely subscribe. Super chat. We here talking that boxing talk. True School After Dark. I'm Honduran myself, and I try to keep up to date with Teofimo's stuff. I saw they're doing Takeover Sports too. I wonder if it'll be boxing or soccer targeted. Sorry if I got some stuff wrong. No, it's fine, man. I get stuff wrong too, so we can all get things wrong. But yeah, we'll see, man. I think Teofimo's a smart guy. He's a ambitious guy. He's a creative guy. So it all depends on if he puts his energy into it. I think he can be successful. He is. Yeah, he is. He's fighting. I'm gonna say he's fighting next month. He's fighting next month at the Alexis Arguello Arena in Managua, Nicaragua, which I've actually been to Nicaragua, so I've seen that arena. They got a little like Alexis Arguello statue in that area. But like for me, like Chocolatito Gonzalez is my favorite fighter of all time. I literally have on my wall, I have a Roma Gonzalez Japanese magazine from when he beat the shit out of Akira Yagashi on my wall. So I love the guy. I'm gonna miss him when he retires. But like, what's the point of him boxing? Like, he's not trying to fight for the world title anymore. He's not trying to become a 5-division champion and go to bantamweight and pick off one of those belts. So, like, what is he doing? Because to me, the main thing I want to see him do if he's gonna box I want to see him try. I don't even care if he loses. I want to see him roll the dice and go to bantamweight and try to become a 5-division champion. Because if you become a 5-division champion, that puts you in a whole nother stratosphere. That puts you in like rarefied air, to where now you're there now with in a club that only has Mayweather and De La Hoya and Leonard and Hearns and these kind of guys. So, and Pacquiao. So I want to see him join that 5-division championship club. And if he's not trying to do that, then I really don't care about like what he's doing in his career. I want to do what you do for Japanese boxing, for Panamanian boxing. Well, do it, man. It's not, if you got a passion for it, do it. Right? If you're in Panama, I mean, I don't live in Japan, but if you're actually living in the area, I don't know if you live in Panama, but if you live in Panama, man, go to the local gyms, interview the amateurs, interview the trainers, go to as many shows as possible. Go do all that, man. We need people in these different countries that don't normally get boxing coverage to promote these fighters, you know. So yeah, we need a guy in Panama. We need a guy in Africa. We need a guy in Canada. You know, we need people all over the world that have a passion for covering these fighters in certain countries. I have a passion for covering Japanese fighters, literally just because of the fact that when I started learning who Inoue was and Yamanaka was 10 years ago, there was no information on these guys. So naturally, that led me down the rabbit hole of Japanese boxing. And then eventually I went to Japan, and then it's taken on a life of its own. But do it, man. Chocolatito versus Antonio Vargas. That'd be a good fight. I think you would have a chance against Antonio Vargas. Because Vargas is not punching like that. He's good, but he's not punching like that. He's not a big-time puncher. BT, where do you honestly see boxing in 10 years? Where do you see boxing with all these new players like TKO and Turkey? I don't think Turkey and TKO are going to be here in 10 years. And truth be told, I don't think Turkey and TKO will be here in 5 years. I think this is going to be a very short run. That's my opinion. But I feel like, to answer your question to the best of my abilities, what I will say is I think boxing in 10 years the cycle of things is going to be this. So right now, the market is being heavily inflated by the money Turkey injected into the sport from the Saudi Arabian government, right? Turkey's not trying to lose money on these fights. You know, he's getting to a stage where he's not trying to lose money on these fights or pay these guys that don't even fight, you know, in exciting fights like New York City that one time in Times Square. So that's why you're bringing in Dana White, because you want to control fighter pay, you want to make a league, you want to restrict things, and so eventually I think the fighters are going to wake up. They're not going to want to work with him. Turkey won't be able to really. There will come a point where Turkey won't be able to maneuver the way he wants to, because he doesn't have the fighters that matter in his corner anymore, because now he brought in Dana White. Fighters don't want to sign with Dana White because he has a bad reputation from the UFC. They're not really paying people, right? They're lowballing champions, these kind of things. So, yeah, then I think, you know, the promoters like Eddie Hearn and the guys that are, you know, the big time promoters, they'll start making fights happen again, and the market will have to correct itself, you know, again, and that'll be like a, you know, 2 or 3 year period. And I think, you know, things will be like really, really good in about 5 years. I think that's how I see it. Tom and Jerry. Speaking of Tom and Jerry, did I see him in Ford? Yeah, I saw him. I saw his trunks. I thought it was funny. When I saw Ford's trunks, I thought that meant that he was going to run around the ring and not try to fight. But he tried to fight. He just couldn't. He couldn't knock out Foster or Nova, because Nova stays right on top of you. Nova can actually punch. So you got to be weary of his power. But yeah, I seen his trunks. I thought his outfit was cool. You know, I thought it was probably the coolest outfit Raymond Ford has ever wore. It was definitely there was one time when Raymond Ford was a prospect, there was this card during the pandemic that Eddie Hearn did on the streets of Oklahoma. Like, it was literally a street corner in Oklahoma. There was nobody there. And I remember Raymond Ford came to the ring with a jean jacket vest. So this Tom and Jerry outfit was a lot better than the jean jacket vest that Raymond Ford wore when he was a prospect at one time on that card where they had that they had on the street corner in Oklahoma. So yeah, shout out to Ford. Once you be a top contender or unified, then you can call yourself a champion. What if you beat? What if you're a contender and you fight the longest reigning champion in the division, and you knock him out? Can you call yourself a champion then? That's the car where Madrimov tripped and knocked off that can. You're talking about Eric Walker, and hey, Eric Walker gave him some work in spots of that fight. Don't be out here talking bad about Eric Walker, the prison boxing legend. Nah, that fight's not happening. If Oshaki, I think regardless of what happens in the Oshaki versus Stephen Fulton fight, I think Oshaki is gonna drop that belt. That's what I think. I think he's gonna drop that belt and go to 130 or 135. Try to pursue some big fights up there. That's what I think. So for that reason, I don't think Ford and Foster are gonna fight. But we'll see. True School After Dark. By the way, guys, just to let you know again, because I'm gonna end this live at about 2 or 3 minutes. Tomorrow, or I should say now, later on today, Tuesday, tomorrow, I'm not going live tomorrow, so there won't be a live till Wednesday. So just let you guys know in advance. If they fought, you got Ford, that's a good fight. I don't know, man. They're both kind of like, they're both very similar. They're both similar. Like, they both are good, skillful fighters that need someone really dangerous to stop fighting down to the level of competition. Roach called who out? Roach called out Ford? Or Roach called out Foster? I mean, Shakur just fought, so I don't think they really got anything lined up yet. He just fought recently. He's probably just enjoying his time off. So that's what I think. Oh, Roach and Shakur. Yeah, they've been talking about that for a while. That'd be a good fight. I hope if we don't get Roach versus Tank, then let's do Roach versus Shakur. I ain't mad at that. Is there a fighter with the worst man's career than Tio? There's like hundreds of fighters with way worse man's careers than Tio. Are we crazy? Boots, Andrade, and then we're just talking about guys at the world championship level. That's not factoring in guys that have never won a world title, like Trayshawn Wiggins, Adrian Granados, like there's plenty of fighters that don't have big names that were terribly managed. The reason they don't have big names is probably because they were terribly managed. My man here said, I got to speak with an old coach of Tio, and he said they wanted Shakur in 2024, but the Princess made everything a pain. Well, it's negotiation, Some people have the patience for it. Some people don't. I don't know. I don't know what was said in between them, so I don't know. But it's possible. Andrade and Boots managers are their fathers. Tio had David McWater. It's true, but he's also got Junior Lopez in his corner. And listen, I know, I got a lot of love for Teofimo Senior, but I know from personal experience he's not an easy guy to deal with. He's gotten mad at me for not always agreeing with everything they do. Remember one time in 2020, like last year, I was covering the Adrian Broner Blair Cops card at the Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood, Florida, and I left the building, right? I left the arena and I ran into one of Teofimo Lopez's they have a friend that I know, and I hadn't seen him in a while, so I went to shake his hand. And then his dad was like, no, don't shake his hand. This guy's a Teofimo hater. And I'm like, I'm a hater? I love your son. And he's like, no, man, nah, bro, you a hater, bro. And then I was like, okay. And I was trying to talk to him, and he's like, keep walking before I have you thrown out of here. And then I walked away from him. I'm just letting him talk. And he's like, what did he tell me? He was like, he said, what did he say to me? He was like, he's like, that's why you're a nobody. You're a hater because we're the only ones from Florida that made it. Like, he told me that shit. So I thought that was funny. So I know from personal experience that Teofimo Senior ain't the easiest to deal with. So Teofimo is a fucking legend, man. He's gonna be missed when he's done with boxing, and his dad too. I mean, I love Teofimo Lopez. I think when he's at his best, he's a special fighter, but he hasn't been. He's been his best in boxing like for 3 nights. So Comey, that was 2019. Loma, that was 2020, and Josh Taylor, 2023. He's been very inconsistent. I love Teofimo Lopez, but I don't know, man. There's not many fighters that are active right now that I can honestly say I'm gonna miss when they're gone. Like, he's good. I'm a Teofimo fan, but I can't say like I would say I'm gonna miss him when he's gone. You know, but if he was more consistent, I would say that. I don't rate the Barbosa win. It was a good win, but like it wasn't like it was a good performance and it was a good win, but it wasn't like special. I'm talking about his special performances. You think it was special? Because man, I remember I talked to Teofimo Lopez back in May at the Inoue Cardenas undercard. He walked by the media section and he had some words for Sean to tell to say, and then he talked to me for a little bit. He didn't think it was special. So if you think it was special, I mean, you might be alone on that one. Because I didn't think it was special, and apparently neither did he. He said maybe one day I'll make it, and then I was like, yeah, I think someone told him that congratulations on a great performance, and he was like, nah, that wasn't. He said it himself. It was not a great performance. He won, and in comparison to the dog shit we saw with the other 2 fights in the card, it was special. But in objective reality, it wasn't special, and we know he's better than that. And I think it's gonna take other top fighters to bring it out, but it's a good win. Barbosa was coming in on good form. He had beaten Jack Catterall. He had beaten Ramirez. So, yeah. Hyro says, what is the one thing you like about PBC? I like how they promote fights to the casual boxing fans. Yes. Particularly in the urban market. Yes. Shout out to Al Heyman. Shout out to PBC. Shout out to Kenny Buhari, the publicist. Shout out to him. They got good people. Shout out to Ryan Hafey for PBC. Shout out to the whole PBC staff. I heard around the time before the Kambosos fight, all the shit he was going through. So I knew that the Kambosos fight was going to be a nightmare, whether he won or lost. I think Teofimo Lopez, when healthy, is 10 out of 10. Well, I had a chance to watch him spar and train multiple times for that fight. So I saw Teofimo Lopez spar Brandon Pizarro and Dominique Trap Francis when they had that fight first signed for 2021. When they had it initially scheduled for Triller at Marlins Park, but before it got postponed, I saw him spar and he looked great. I think if he would have fought him then, I think he would have stopped Kambosos. But then, the fight fell out. He had his whole thing with Top Rank. He was having a bunch of issues behind the scenes with the powers that be in boxing. And then I remember I went to the gym when he was training for the fight later in the year, and the intensity of the training wasn't the same as what I saw when I saw him spar. So my eyebrows raised, and I knew that it was going to be a trap fight then and there. And then he lost. So yeah, man, it is what it is. It's boxing. That's why you got to always have a team that keeps you in check and is honest with you. Tia was letting my guy Matias disrespect him. How are you the king of 140? I mean, Matias disrespects all these guys except Gary Anton Russell is the only guy he didn't disrespect, because Gary Anton Russell is a stand-up guy. He's an honorable guy. Top 3 best promoters in boxing in order. The best, my favorites in no order are, I'll say what? Pro Box. I'll go Pro Box 1. I will go with Top Rank 2. People talk bad about Top Rank. I still think Top Rank is like the best in a lot of regards. I'm a Pro Box. I like Pro Box a lot. Pro Box, Top Rank. I don't know. I like Pro Box and Top Rank. Those are my 2. And we'll say PBC 3. How about we'll go PBC number 3. I'm sorry you had to deal with that crap. Senior is a hater. Well, you know what? I didn't take it personal, because when I was telling everybody that Teofimo Lopez was the guy to beat Lomachenko, he used to always say, "You're about the only smart guy that I know, bro. Nobody else knows shit about boxing." So when I was talking good about Teofimo Lopez, I knew about boxing, but then when I disagree with him now, I don't know shit about boxing. So I don't take it personal. I know it comes with the job. The irony is these fighters that I've got in there with, got into it with, like Teofimo, Hitchens, Ford. They may go off on me, but deep down they wind up respecting me more than a lot of other people. So, because I'm honest. So casuals like me, that's why I like them. Their fighters are so real. Most PBC boxers didn't even have money to go to the tournaments, the Olympics, because they became world champions. Yeah, PBC doesn't really get like the guys that were the top blue chip guys, but they tend to get a lot of the personalities. What do you like about Pro Box? I just started watching it since Lester Martinez got into Pro Box. I like the fact that Pro Box is probably the only promotional company that's self-sufficient. PBC, Top Rank, Matchroom, Golden Boy. These people are all dependent upon a network. So like, Matchroom and Golden Boy, they need the zone. They need the money from the zone. PBC, they need the money from Amazon Prime. Top Rank, they needed the money from ESPN. Pro Box doesn't. They're not a slave to the networks because they do all their fights on YouTube. They have their own in-house production. It's very good production. They have their own high-level matchmakers, and for the most part, it's pretty good matchmaking. And they own the land in which they fight on, the venue, the Pro Box TV Center. They own it, so it's like they can put on as many shows as they want. They're gonna always have dates. I just like the fact that they're not a slave to the network. It's a different model. I see TKO Boxing is stealing the lane that Pro Box created. They're trying to. They're trying to do like the WBC Grand Prix, and they're trying to do like prospect tournaments and things like that. But it's not the same because they don't have the boxing people and the infrastructure to do it. So they may stymie the momentum of Pro Box, but Pro Box they are not. Do you think our guy Andre is going to fight again? I don't know, and at this point, I don't really care. Because he doesn't really care. So if he doesn't care, why should I care? What did Hitchens say to you, BT? I want Matthias to put hands on him. Hitchens got mad at me because when I first met him, he got mad at me because I made a video saying that the Gustavo Lemos fight was going to be a very hard fight for him, and I wound up being right. So he got mad about it, and he pressed me about it in an interview. So Matchroom gives fighters. They do. I think Matchroom though. Their matchmakers get the prospects beat a lot. I mean, I like their matchmakers from the sense of from the standpoint of they are aggressive matchmakers, so they find out if their guys are really the goods or not. But as a whole, I think the best boxing entities at the top level are Pro Box and Top Rank. Really, that makes a lot of sense because Pro Box has been moving a lot differently these days than they did in their beginning stages. When they first came out, they didn't have sponsorships on the ring. They weren't trying to be a competitor to the other promotional companies. They were just their own thing. They were a nice, humble fight series. They bought boxing scene, so they've been making these power moves. So that's not the most surprising thing, but that's very intriguing. Do I think OTX boxing is similar to Pro Box? They're kind of self-reliant. To a degree, like they are self-reliant, but not really because again, they still have to rely on the zone. They still rely on a network, a platform. Pro Box doesn't rely on anybody really. But guys, look, on that note, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm running out of gas. I'm tired. It's 12:48. I have other things to tend to before I go to sleep. I'm pulling an all-nighter. So listen, thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of True School After Dark. There will be no live tomorrow, so the next live will be Wednesday night. We'll be back Wednesday night. Make sure you guys tune in. Continue to support the channel and all the great content here on True School Sports. And yeah, man, got a lot of interviews I'm doing. I did 2 today with Elijah Pierce and Trayshawn Wiggins. Those will be coming out. And then tomorrow I got three. I got three of them. I got Andy Dominguez. I have Ryan Ruzicki, and then I have whatchamacallit. I have Katsuma Akitsugi. So, gonna be a lot of fun, a lot of editing. But anyway, nonetheless, guys, take care. God bless. Like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dang It. So until next time, take care, guys.